Stand by 10 seconds. Stand by to initiate release sequencer. On my mark. 5.
We're on express elevator to hell. Going down.
2, 1. Mark.
You know what that means. Time again for Rollo Tomassi, Irrational Male. I'm your host, Rollo Tomassi, author of the world internationally famous series of books called The Irrational Male. Today we're going to talk about the myth of the biological clock, and we're going to dig into this show called Labor of Love. Stick around. There you go. How do you like that? Oops, wait, I did not get to it in time. Nah, my bad. Dang it. I thought I was being so slick with that one too. Hopefully I don't get flagged for that. I don't think I will. I've used that one before. How's it going, guys? Welcome to another edition. Conk, I see you in there. Rugby, see you too. Sam Bada is in the house. He is the moderator in the chat today. So pay respects, be respectful, play well with others, and we'll get along just fine. I'm saying that here from the outset because I know there's probably going to be a bunch of trolls in this one in particular. I'm not going to get into why because it's just stupid. It's internet drama, which is interesting to me because it seems to me more and more lately I'm becoming, I think, a little bit sensitive to the fact that a lot of guys who tend to be very feminized or have been conditioned by the blue pill to think in female correct ways of like thought patterns and everything, tend to get off on the same kind of emotional states that women do because they've been taught to. For the most part, the blue pill is a conditioning. I don't want to say it's like this mass psychosis because then it sounds like it's like some sort of like conspiracy theory, and I think there's enough conspiracy to go around these days. People have asked me that before. They've said, Rollo, a lot of the stuff that you talk about, like the red pill and all this, it sounds very conspiratorial. And I'm like, do you think it's a conspiracy? I'm like, well, who would be the conspirers in all of this? Or like feminism for that side. You can look at it on the other side there too. Like, well, who would be the conspirers? Who are the fiendish Illuminati in this smoke-filled room, discussing their plans for like the fiendish world domination? And the same thing is like, people say, well, the red pill is a cult, man. It sounds like a cult. Well, everything sounds like a cult when what someone says to you, or like when people gather together with a common belief. And then, I don't know if this is true. Maybe this is not. Somebody can correct me on this if they want to. Thanks, Christopher, for that. But is like the word cult, is that the root of the word culture? I'm not sure. Somebody could look that up for me. That'd be great. But it seems to me like the idea of something that's sounding culty or something that sounds like a conspiracy, usually it ends up something that is conflicting with one's sort of invested belief set. And so when enough people say that, or they use the same kind of terms, or, it's easy for that to happen today too, because we live in the internet age. So, it's no surprise that something like the red pill, or even feminism, really, feminism jumped on, sort of the internet bandwagon a long time ago, and you can still see it today. A lot of the same, catchphrases and jingoisms, I guess, are probably the best way to describe it. A lot of those are used, brought to you by Bulletproof Coffee. Buttery good. And I when you hear these things, or you hear these, certain phrases used over and over again. Like people always criticize me of using hypergamy too much. Well, the reason I use it and the reason other people use it, not just me, I mean, a lot of people use the same thing. They say, oh, you're in the cult of hypergamy. Well, it's just because what it brings to light sort of ruins a lot of people's invested belief sets. And it's really easy to think something is conspiratorial, like somebody who's like, there's some sort of mastermind, like evil. Rollo's the evil mastermind behind all this. Like, no, really, I'm not. This is just something I've been doing for almost 20 years now. So it's not like, oh, well, I love it when a plan comes together or something like, all I do is just hold up the mirror, and you got to want to look into the mirror. So, so when people say it's conspiratorial, understand that it doesn't have to be. That's the thing, is particularly these days, like people will say, well, do you think that women are evil and they're planning these things, or the reason they behave in the certain ways, and we're going to talk about some female behavior today, but the reason why they do this is because they're aware of what they're doing. They understand, like when a woman gets into the epiphany phase, which we're also going to talk about today, like she's aware, she knows, like, oh man, I better get off the carousel now. I better check out of the casino before the party's over, and I better find a guy, a beta in waiting, because now I'm 30 years old and I know I can't compete anymore. Women don't think that way. They don't have to think that way, because there are social conventions that are already established to help them kind of transition into that naturally. And it's not like there was some sort of fiendish group of, cabal of, overseers who said, okay, now when women do this, what are we going to have them do? No, this is just how it goes. Like, so when people say, well, Rollo, don't you think that when women get to their epiphany phase, that they actually honestly, genuinely feel this way, that they have a change of heart, and they've learned their lesson, and now they want to get things right, or they want to get right with God, and they want to do all this good stuff, and they want to, realign their lives. And I'm like, yeah, I'm sure they do. I think, again, like I said, they would pass a polygraph test. They really honestly feel that way. So I'm prefacing today's topic here because you guys sort of need to know that, because I think that a lot of people, when I've seen a lot of people covering this topic right now. A lot of people are covering the Labor of Love show. I guess it's on Fox right now. And I'll explain to you what it's all about, but I wanted to sort of preface today's show with the caveat, let's just say that the asterisk here, that when women do the things that they do, often, I'm not saying that all, they're not self-aware. Most, a good portion of them are. When I talk about open hypergamy by that example, I think that women have embraced their mating strategy. Like, we've gotten to a point, I think, socially now, where women are comfortable in revealing that mating strategy. And that's how you get shows just like this, like Labor of Love show. Do I work out? What type of routine do I do? I do actually work out. I work out quite a bit. I have been doing a lot more cardio lately because my gym is closed because of COVID-19. Hopefully that will change in June, but I have my own kind of workout stuff that's here that sort of, it's just use it until I can't. But I've been doing this program called Max OT for a long time. So that's the routine that I use. Again, I don't pretend to be a fitness guru, and by any stretch of the imagination. My brother actually was an amateur circuit bodybuilder, and so I've been lifting since I was probably about 18, maybe even earlier than that. I don't know. So yeah, I mean, I do. I work out. I work out. All right, that's that. Okay, so anyways, I'm going to hold off on super chats unless, again, like I said, unless they're like on topic. I won't be covering super chats. If they're off topic, I might get to them at the end of the show. So please don't ask me how to get your girlfriend back. It's probably better that you just simply email me, and it actually works out better for us as well. What is this? Okay, well, thank you for that, Abram Young. And there we go. So anyways, I know a lot of people are covering this show right now, and I wanted to sort of throw my hat in the ring here. because I don't like to cover stuff that's like, TMZ material, right? I don't cover The Bachelor or The Bachelorette. I don't have I don't have a vested interest in stuff like that because for the most part, I've worked in marketing and PR and branding and, advertising and doing what I do professionally for a very long time. And I realized that shows like The Bachelor are scripted. And they have to be. There's too much money involved in those shows for them not to be scripted. So when I see, and my daughter loves The Bachelor, I'm not gonna lie, she loves it. My wife doesn't get behind it because she knows that it's sort of contrived. But I think that like maybe the younger generation. What's funny is that like the shows like The Bachelor have been around for. How long has Bachelor been on? It's been running for what are they? Got to be in their 10th season now, right? 10 years. Maybe more than that. I don't know. And then you get things like Love Island or 90 Day Fiancé. Why are these like sudden, like right now, why are these shows suddenly so hot? What is it about this incoming generation of, I don't know what you want to call them, like Generation Z or Zillennials or whatever you want to call them. Like the demographic here is, of course, let's just say for 18 to 25, 24. I think that would be the demographic for the younger set. Why is it that these shows are so damn popular right now? And it's not, I shouldn't just blame it on this demographic because there's a lot of women who are older and you'll see why, because this next show, this Labor of Love is not necessarily targeting, the younger demo. It's actually targeting the older demo, but the formula for these shows, first of all, it targets women with westernized sensibilities, but it also appeals to women's nature. And I've written quite a bit actually about how women are the primary consumer in Western cultures. So what is it that is the appeal? What is it that is I don't know, holding women, in rapt attention when it comes to this stuff? Or why is, I would not be surprised if there is not already some sort of forum or some kind of users group or some kind of like maybe a Discord server that is already dedicated. It's probably already been set up by Fox if they're smart, which they are. They're probably already doing this. And people are probably already talking about each one of these individual guys and who's going to be the one that knocks this girl up. And I'll explain what the premise of the show is here, but I want to sort of explain what the formula is before I get into too much detail here. The formula for like something like The Bachelor, yes, it's scripted, but it is also has to be scripted in such a way that it appeals to women's indignation. And that indignation generally comes from women's existential fear. Okay. Women's existential fear is this. Write this down. If you're taking notes, you can write this part down. I've got actually 4 different essays about the existential fear of women and men and all that good stuff. But the existential fear of women is to be duped, to be tricked, to be fooled into thinking that one guy is the guy for her, the one, right? But the soulmate, the guy who best manifests alpha seed and beta need, the guy who is, or maybe is just the best candidate from either one of those. So you've got the guy who is the alpha seed guy who's, your stereotypical Chad that we were just talking about, a V-taper, a strong jawline, 6-pack abs. That guy, if he's the apex example of the guy that she could possibly get, then that's one set, like that's one ideal, let's say. And then there's the guy who is the good provider, the guy who has a lot of money. Usually he's the millionaire. Maybe he's not as exciting. Hopefully he's exciting, or at least has something that covers the deficit, that maybe he's not the Chad archetype, but he has enough to sort of offset the deficit to be the guy who's going to be parentally invested, who's going to be a good choice for the long term. And so it's great if you can bring both of those together, but that's the ideal. And I don't think women, even today, particularly in globalizing westernized culture, really look for both in the same guy. They're looking for one or the other. There's the guy that they bring home to mom and they want to start a family with. It's cads versus dads, okay? And I didn't say chads. I said cads versus dads. The guys who like the jerk, right? The jerk, the a-hole boyfriend who who kind of, uses her and has his own, has his own direction. He's kind of like, he's sort of into her because he likes to have sex with her, but he's not emotionally invested. Whereas then there's the other guy, the dad guy, who's maybe a little too much, slightly too much invested in the emotional set with her. And he's not as exciting, but each one of them kind of has a little bit more than the other. And really what happens is when a woman gets to a certain phase in her maturity, she tends to prioritize one or the other. And so that's what a lot of these shows play upon. So when you look at The Bachelor or even The Bachelorette, all right, like I think it's The Bachelorette. It's the one where the Bachelorette is the one with the little girl who wants, like, what, she got like a dozen guys. And then one of, at the end of the show, some guy gets dissed and he gets pushed off the show or whatever. And of course what happens is then it triggers all this other stuff that goes along with it too. So it's not just the advertising that's happening on The Bachelorette or The Bachelor or whatever it is. It is the system that comes after it. It's the advertising, it's the forums, it's the water cooler talk. It's, I can't believe it. You said, like women will seriously say, don't call me because I'm on the West Coast and you're on the East Coast and you're going to see this show before I am. And I don't want to know. And why don't they want to know? They don't want to solve the problem. They don't want to know who gets booted off the show. They want to feel it. That's why. And women will get very upset if you've got like a friend of yours isn't, like, for instance, and I know this because my daughter is here on the West Coast and a lot of her friends are still in Florida, like on the East Coast. So they're going to see this and she's talking with them before. Don't tell me. Yeah, don't spoil it for me. You can spoil a movie for them, no problem. They don't care about that. But don't spoil The Bachelor, because The Bachelor is an indignation, emotion generating story because it triggers those sort of base lizard brain emotionality. Like, it's very limbic, right? It's very hormonal. It's very whatever I don't know what the actual chemical cocktail is, but whatever little endorphins get squirted into the bloodstream when a woman like says, "Oh, it's him! I can't believe it!" And then once they figure it out, that's the most satisfying part of stuff like this. So when we're talking about like labor of love here, I'll guarantee you the formula is the same. It's just the context changes. So what happens here in labor of love? It's not. It's not The Bachelor per se. It's a little bit different spin on it, but it triggers the same like endorphin squirt, right? It's that same. I want to know if he's really for real, and that's what I mean when I talk about the existential fear of women, which is to be duped, to be tricked by a guy who looks and seems like he's alpha, but really he's beta. He's false. He's tricksy and false, right? I can't do that one. But he's the guy that gets in there and does the end run around women's hypergamous filter. And really, when I talk about a woman's hypergamous filter, what I'm referring to is her feminine, quote unquote, feminine intuition. It's this belief, this mythological belief, I should say, that women have some magical, metaphysical, supernatural way of determining whether a guy is like for real or he's not. And the reason why it triggers that endorphin squirt, right, is because it confirms or else it disconfirms or it denies, I guess, her suspicions. And it's the suspicious part right there that's the sweet spot for advertisers, for shows like this, for formulas like this. That's the sweet spot. If you ever want to know how to advertise to women, and it's very easy today, and they're the prime spenders. They're the prime consumers in Western societies, globalized Western societies. Women buy everything. They control the spending of damn near everything. I think one of the stats I was quoting for book 4 is that over the course of a family's history, women will control 90% of the wealth of that family. So all the stuff that men are supposed, like men's products and stuff, it's not the men that are buying it. It's the women. It's their women. It's the mom. It's the wife. It's maybe the girlfriend. I don't know, is buying that stuff for the family. And they're the ones who are determining, where they're going to live, what church they're going to go to, what car they're going to drive, It's for the lion's share, let's just say, of purchase decisions are made by women. Even when women complain about this, gender pay gap, that even for all of that, which is just simply BS, but even for all of that, it's still not enough because women still control the money that men make. And I mean, literally, I mean, these are statistics. You can go and look the stats up on Forbes, look up on, what is it? Sheeconomy.com. And you will understand that it is women who are spending the money. They might not be making the most money, but they're spending that money and they're directing it to go where they want it to go. So as a result, if you are an advertiser, if you have a business, if you have a product to sell, if you have a story to sell, the sweet spot to advertising to those women is right in that little middle right there, that suspicious middle. Like, ooh, you want to know why something like, was it 50 Shades of Grey was such a hot seller? I mean, you look at the stats for that. I believe it, like by the end of, like, it wasn't even 1 year. I think it was released, in 2013 or 2014. And then by the end of that year, and it was released in March, by the time it got to December, it was like 65 million units sold. And it made what's her name? And I forget the chick's name now, EL something or other, made her an instant millionaires basically over the course of 6 months, 8 months. And she's suddenly she's a multimillionaire as a result of that, because it's in that indignation zone. Yeah, there's the sex part of it, but it's not so much the sex part as it is sort of the wondering, as, is this guy for real? What's really going on here? Let me figure it out. Why is it that women like mysteries and intrigue so much? Well, if you can cater that intrigue to hit upon sort of like the visceral animal evolved side of why women are looking, like trying to determine like true signs from false signs, that's all rooted in that woman's existential fear. Because of course, what happens, and I'll just explain this really quickly, is what happens is in our ancestral past, if a woman made a bad choice, it could be the end of her life or the end of her children's lives. She had to make sure that the guy she was spreading her legs for was going to be the guy who was going to protect her, was going to provide for her. And although he's, very hot and she wanted to get with him and wanted to have his babies, that doesn't necessarily mean that he is who he presents himself as. She's looking for genuine, true signs, true cues is what psychology would call it, or evolutionary psychology would call it. Looking for those legitimate, valid signs. And it was so important for women because women could die from that, right? I mean, you could die in childbirth. You could die from like lack of protection, lack of provisioning, there's an evolutionary Darwinist side to all of this. And if a woman made a bad choice, it could be the end of her life. So as a result, evolution over the course of thousands of years battered it into women's head, into women's mental firmware, as I like to call it, to have a natural proclivity to get off on stuff like that. So it had to be rewarding. It had to be intrinsically, inherently, evolutionarily rewarding for a woman to try to figure those things out. That's why women depend on things like social proof, pre-selection particularly, because if another girl says, oh man, he's the bomb, you got to get with him, or in many different ways. It doesn't have to be like verbally like that. It can be just like the signs she's showing, or if the guy has high status, if he's good looking, if he has, if he's somebody that other men want to be and other women want to get with, then that helps that other woman, the woman who's trying to make these decisions, helps her out trying to figure out the real signs. Is he really the real alpha? Girlfriend says, yeah, man, I would get with him. Oh, okay. So that helps, that aids in that decision-making process. That's another reason why women tend to be more collectivist and tend to be more, that's why socialism appeals to women, because they're looking for help from other women. They're innately create social networks. And I'm not just talking about like online. I'm just saying over the course of evolutionary history for men and women, women relied on other women to help them out, to help nurture the children, to help protect them, to help make decisions. That the younger, a young woman, a girl who's 14 depends on a girl who's 20 to figure out who amongst the tribe is the guy who has the goods. And if there's other women who say, oh yeah, that guy right there, he's the one, that helps her make those decisions because she's 14 and she really wants to like get with the guy, but she has to also depend, and this is in her evolutionary past, has to depend on that guy being able to provide, to protect, to, to fight, to be violent if necessary, but to also be invested in her as well. So there's the beta buck side of it. It's the provisioning side of hypergamy. And then there's the alpha seed side of hypergamy. And I wrote about this in preventive medicine. When a girl is in her teenage years, she's not really most girls, young girls don't look for guys who have a lot of money or even are, he's got to be funny. No, she's looking for the guy who's hot. She's looking for the guy who, particularly from the ages of like 15 until she's about 28 years old, physicality in a guy is the highest priority. Let's just, black pill guys. Oh yeah, you see, he really gets it. Well, things change and things get reprioritized. And if we were still living back in our hunter-gatherer forager days, I might even agree with you for a while. But hear me out, because we're gonna get into a little bit more here. We also have to look at when women's fertility window arrives for them. But back to the point. The point is this: is that. So the reason why women tend to be more invested, let's just say, in social networks, or the reason why something like texting is something, or communication for that matter. Remember, I've said this a million times, that women communicate covertly, and they have a natural proclivity that's scientifically proven, have a natural proclivity for communication. Subcommunications, nuance, innuendo, body language, that kind of stuff. They pick up more than most guys do, because guys are information based, whereas women are looking and they're more communication based. And so as a result of that, things like going on an online forum to talk about labor of love, or The Bachelor or Bachelorette. Why is it that there are more women on Twitter than there are men? Why is it that there are more women? And this, you can look, I can show you the stats. Why is it that there are more women on Twitter? Why is it that there are more women, women use, instant messaging way more than men do? Why is it that Facebook is primarily geared towards women? And if you look at the what do you call it? The commercials, if I forget what they call it, SEO, that kind of stuff, for the advertising that is directed at women on Instagram. Why do women use Instagram? Why are there Instagram boyfriends, right? Because it appeals to that innate need for a social network amongst her girlfriends. MGTOWs, guys, red pill, whatever it is, will always say, well, woman she has a million beta orbiters on tap, and she can be, 50 pounds overweight, and all her girlfriends will go, you go, girl, you look great. Yeah, because there's a natural need, an evolved need for that community. For like, they were the gatherers and our hunter-gatherer past. Women were the ones who were gathering. They were the ones nurturing the children while the men folk were away hunting caribou or woolly mammoths, or protecting the women from saber-toothed tigers. I don't know, whatever. Men were more project-oriented, thing-oriented, imposing their will on their environment-oriented, whereas women had the burden of being the incubators of the next generation. So it stands to reason that they would be the ones at home picking berries and talking amongst themselves and creating sort of female alliances with other women in the tribe or the pack or whatever you want to call it. And so therefore, as I have reasoned in the past, the women tend to be more collectivist because they've had to be. So really, what is social media today? It appeals to that collectivist nature of women. So there's that aspect of it. I'm prefacing a lot of this because you have to know why shows like this are so appealing. I can easily sit here and go, oh, can you believe this guy? Oh, he looks kind of cute. He doesn't look. I can go TMZ all day long. If you just want red meat, I'll be happy to red meat you until you're full of red meat and you don't care anymore. But that's not what I do. Okay, so it's very easy to sit here and poke fun and laugh at this kind of stuff, but you need to know why this works, because if you want your life to improve and if you want to be able to use the tools that I'm giving you, you need to have this background. You need to understand why the nature of women is what it is. Whether you're going to use that to get laid, or you're going to use that to have a better life, or you're going to use that to get a promotion at work, whatever, that's where I'm at. So it's like, if you want to talk about red meat stuff, I'll be happy to talk about that, but I'm always going to give you the steak with the sizzle. So here's the steak. Okay. The steak is this, is that there is an appeal to women having these fantasies, wanting to satisfy hypergamy in the most optimal way. So after we got through thousands of years of evolution, we finally got up to the sexual revolution just 55 years ago, about that, maybe a little more, mid 60s. And we come up with the advent of hormonal birth control. And now things change. So the guys who were, the providers and everything, they're not as necessary as the guys who are the hot guys. And what has happened sort of in the wake of that is if a woman has the choice whether or not to get pregnant or whether or not to have the child, that opens up more options to her. That opens up these options where I don't have to worry. I can have the sex that I want to have. I can try these guys out. And if they turn out not to be the guys that I thought they were, well, I have the option of not getting pregnant, or I have the option of aborting the child if I want to. Really, that's what abortion is it's a fail-safe. It's a hypergamous fail-safe. It's a fail-safe for bad reproductive decision is what abortion is. And that's not from a moralistic stance. That's from a pragmatic, just nuts and bolts sensibility. That's why women want to protect abortion. Because they don't want to, they want to have the option. They want to have the option to opt out. And if the guy turns out not to be the guy that she wants to get with, well, now she, doesn't matter. She can either abort it, she can keep it if the guy, or she can simply say, and women in Western cultures have the option to say, well, it might be Jim's baby, but Joe over here makes more money and I've been having sex with him too. So if let's get together with my girls online in our collective, and you can give me girls give me some advice. How can I trick this guy? And they'll be happy to do it. They'll be happy to do those things, because if it in any way promotes hypergamy, women don't have any sense of cognitive dissonance when it comes to hypergamous decision making. And that's not to say that women are immoral or they don't have moral agency. They do. But I'm saying this is that when it comes to cognitive dissonance, women do not have any problem with cognitive dissonance if that dissonance is caused by something that would either improve themselves in a hypergamous way or not. And so or both. Like if I hang on to both and one or the other is going to pay off in optimizing hypergamy, no problem. We'll have cognitive dissonance and not even worry about it. So those are things that you need to really sort of digest and internalize as a guy, particularly when we're talking about red pill awareness. Those are things that you really need to sort of wrap your head around, because when we get to things like The Bachelor, or we get to things like Labor of Love, what we're looking at is that same optimization of hypergamy. I have a post right now, and I just put it up on Friday, and it's called Pro Revenge. And I kind of told this, I told the story that I'm about to tell today, but I told it from a male perspective, because there is I think particularly amongst this younger generation of guys who are coming into the red pill or becoming more like red pill aware, there's this idea, or there's this certain sense of satisfaction when they see a girl get her comeuppance. And what I mean by comeuppance is, go look that up. It's actually an English word, right? Comeuppance. It means that a person, male or female, doesn't matter, is getting their just desserts. They're getting what they deserve. Karma is served. That's justice, right? And there's nothing that is more self-satisfying, I think, for particularly guys in the black pill set or whatever, this new generation of red pill guys, that they love this kind of material. That when I did the red meat episode of this show, I kind of got into it a little bit, but I dug in a little bit deeper before I started writing this most recent essay that's on therationalmale.com. I don't know if you guys are familiar with a Reddit sub, and it's called Pro Revenge. It's like r/Pro Revenge. Now, Pro Revenge is not necessarily just about, women, having their mating strategies or hypergamy or whatever, then it's not just about them having those plans get foiled, right? The evil, fiendish plans, right? It's also about guys who rip you off, or liars, or thieves, or bad employers, and there's other things that are attached to it. But the most popular part of that sub is when a girl gets hers, according to the way that these guys think. Like, well, she was trying to get away with marrying this rich guy, and she thought he was poor, and then she divorced him because she's just a shallow, bi bitch. I guess I can say bitch because now we're after 30 minutes. She's just a shallow woman, and this guy was actually rich, and she divorced him, and now she's crying because she didn't realize he was actually super rich. That feels good to guys, to think that, she got her comeuppance. She got hers. Her karma was served. Ha, ha, ha. Let's move on to the next story. And we can go on and on and on about all these things where guys are like, I think really that's sort of almost a MGTOW banner right now, or an anthem, is to say, hey, haha, the what is it, COVID-19. Now all these women want to be housewives, but of course what happens is they don't really care about being housewives. They just go straight over to OnlyFans. That's kind of satisfying. So in the same sense that kind of triggers that, like I said, that endorphin squirt or that adrenaline rush or whatever it is that those guys get, shows like Labor of Love or The Bachelor trigger that same kind of indignation, trigger that same kind of emotional response. Only it's different because women want to say, we found the cheater. Like Cheaters, wasn't there a show called Cheaters? It was, or I can remember when Julian Blank was caught as a PUA, or Tucker Max for that matter. Like Tucker Max renounced his bad boy ways, and he's writing books like I Hope They Serve Beer in Hell, and just sort of documenting his escapades. Or we look at somebody like Roosh, right, who is this incorrigible PUA who pretty much for almost 20 years, and maybe a little under, made a living off of writing lay guides, and now he's the prodigal son. And we love that narrative, particularly women, because what happens is when that guy is sort of this I guess recalcitrant is the word I'm working for. He's sort of this reformed bad boy, like Julian Blank did it, or Tucker Max did it, or Roosh is certainly doing it right now, where it's the prodigal son returneth. He went off and he spent his inheritance with hookers and blow, and now he's come back, and we're gonna welcome him with open arms. And the reason why we're gonna party and welcome him back with open arms is because his remorse fuels our belief set. It makes us feel good that the guy says, we've been trying to tell you this forever. You shouldn't be hanging out with hookers and blow. You should always be with us, and you can just follow our example and everything. And it makes us feel good about the fact that he's come back. Well, the same thing happens for women. Like women, when a guy says, you know what, I was an incorrigible bad boy and now I've changed. It's the same kind of example. In a way, it kind of confirms women's epiphany phase, because they use that convenient epiphany phase to change their impression of them, not only the impression of themselves, but they're trying to change everyone else's impression of them, that they've changed. I've had a change of heart. I found God, whatever it is. I'm a new person. I'm done with those bad boys. I had my fun. I was so crazy in my college days. I am done with that now. No fun for me. Let's get on to having babies and doing the real work, because relationships are real work. It's that kind of, and we finally, you're finally figuring it out, Mr. Beta, God, get it. Right. Well, great. She's finally come around, she's 30 and she knows she can't compete in the sexual marketplace anymore, but those guys don't care because it feeds their belief set, whether it's religious or it's not. Really, the blue pill to an extent is really a religion. It's really an ideology. Guys get invested in sort of the self-righteousness of like sticking to their guns and being that blue pill alphas for sure, but but doing what they think the old social contract and the old order has taught them will eventually pay off for them. And when a woman finally says, you know what, you were right. I'm sorry I was a slut. I guess I need to get it. I was a porn star and now I want to go and get with the youth pastor now. Can I do that? Yes, you can, because we can forgive you here. Conveniently, we can forgive you. And that's why they're attracted to that. That's why, and again, and the cycle, really, it's a social convention that's already established to welcome women back in with open arms, to say, come on, you know, and it's very satisfying, self-satisfying for somebody who, self-righteously satisfying for guys who are invested in that. So what happens is, in the case of like guys who see women get their comeuppance, the same thing happens for women when they see guys get that way. So the reason why women will form these, these users groups, or these, probably, I don't know if this is true. Somebody can find this out for me. It'd be great. But I think there's probably some Discord servers that are already set up for The Bachelorette, The Bachelor, labor. What do you think is the most popular show, The Bachelor or The Bachelorette? I would argue that it's The Bachelorette. And the reason why I would argue is because the Labor of Love show is almost identical to The Bachelorette, except that it's with an older woman. Now, I'm going to read a few things off here. I got some things queued up for you guys so that we can sort of dig into this Labor of Love thing. But that's the preface I wanted to give you guys, so you understand why this stuff is so attractive, and why is there even a show like this? Why is this probably going to be very popular? Or why is The Bachelorette so popular? Because it appeals to female nature. It is the fantasy of having that fulfilled, being in 100%. Really, that's what is writing a movie. What is writing 50 Shades of Grey? What is writing these romantic comedies? It is a satisfaction, even if it's just vicariously through reading the fiction, or investing yourself in thinking like the Bachelorette is real, when it is it's a fabrication. Like, the only reason why things go the way they do is because the writers know how to appeal to that adrenaline squirt that women get when they feel that indignation, when their intuition is stimulated, when they're trying, oh, is he really the guy? No, hey, she should get with him. No, she should get with him. And so you got this factionalization, like team whatever, Brad and team Ryan or whatever the hell, these different teams, like remember when what was it? Jennifer Aniston and Angelina Jolie were fighting over Brad Pitt. And you literally, at that time when they were splitting up and everybody thought it was going to be Jennifer Aniston and Brad Pitt were going to get together and they were going to have beautiful babies together and everything. And then suddenly, Angelina Jolie like works her way in. And of course that pissed off all the good girls, the women who are invested in sort of the good girl like image that Jennifer Aniston projects. And then there's the bad girl image that like Angelina Jolie projects. The reason why you had like team Jennifer and team Angelina is because it's satisfying. Like, who should he get with? He's the ideal. And you've got two women of different kind of archetypes competing for that guy, the hottest guy in the world, right? The guy that everybody, that was it, People Magazine, sexiest man alive in 2005, 4, something like that. Anyways, so why is that? Why is there factionalization? Well, women like that. Women love intrasexual combat, and that's what that is. So, but why are these shows so popular? Is because it triggers that. And women can live vicariously through the scripted lives of the women in these shows. And so what happens is we get to a point where at the end of all this, why do women get to like the epiphany phase? Why do they finally break down and say, like, for instance, the age of first age of marriage, average first age of marriage for men is 30, and the average first age is 28 for women. Why now? Why isn't it not like 19 or 20 like it used to be? Well, because women hold out longer. They don't have to reproduce. They have abortion. They have the laws behind them. They have the Duluth model of feminism. They have all of this stuff that's behind them, and they don't have to make those choices. So they hold out. And they're sold kind of a bill of goods. And that bill of goods is that women have a biological clock. And I'm sure you probably heard the biology, oh, my clock is ticking. And conveniently, women start saying that right about the time they hit about 30 years old. I'm not getting any younger. I need to have a baby put in me. I need a baby. And it's always right when a woman's trying to get right with God, or she's done with her journey of self-discovery, or she's looking for the guy who is the ignorant beta in waiting, who's more than happy to put a baby in her because now he believes that him sticking to his guns for as long as he has in his blue pill ways he's finally hitting pay dirt, right? He's finally got the girl. Oh, great. Now she finally came to her senses. Now we can have a baby and get on with life. And he's just simply ignorant of the whole thing. And it's not that the woman is like fiendishly plotting against this stuff, but that's when it happens. That's when women say their biological clock is ticking right around 30. Now, the reason why this is a myth and is a falsehood is because every year after I think 30 or 31, women's ability to conceive and carry a child to term decreases by like 10, 20, 30. I forget what I have. I put it in the description here. It's called The Myth of the Biological Clock. It's an essay I wrote, but I based it on the stats for women who what women believe. Like when women get to be about 29, 30 years old, they believe that their capacity to have a baby and to conceive and have a baby successfully, they think that because their biological clock is ticking right there, because that's the social convention. They think that if their biological clock is ticking right there, that they still have lots of time. Women at 34, 35 have a substantially reduced ability. I don't want to quote numbers just yet, but I'm going to just spitball here. But I think like a woman, when she gets to be about 35 or 36 years old, her chances of conceiving and carrying a healthy child to term is something like 20%. It might even be lower than that. And when a woman gets to be up 40 or 41, like the woman we're going to talk about here in a second, when she gets to that point, her capacity to actually have those kids and carry them and not have them be like mentally retarded or whatever, like have complications or have a miscarriage or all of these things that we keep telling women, you can have it all. You can put it off. Focus on your career. And that's another misgiving, and that's another myth. So the reason women hold off from having children is not because they're focusing on their career. It's because they can't find the right guy. They can't find, and there are dozens of studies about this as well, and the more research than you probably would realize, that women hold out not because they're like started their company or they're running some like Fortune 500 business. They're not doing that. They're just simply can't find the right guy, and they waited too long. There are, was it in China, if a woman waits past like 25 or 26, they call her a yellowed pearl because her fertility window is closing. And for a lot of these guys, particularly the old school Chinese, they're, you can quote whatever culture you want. I'm just using this from like a documentary I saw. They called them yellowed pearls. As after a certain age, women's capacity to have healthy children declines precipitously. So if there is such a thing as a biological clock, ladies, if you're watching this, your biological clock started ticking right about the time you hit 22 or 23, because that is your prime fertility window. It's not this, I'm 33 years old, I need to have a baby. Yeah, no, that's the 0 hour. That's not the biological clock is ticking. That it's already ticked out by that time. You're already done. Time's up. The time to have babies, really, to have healthy, like the best time to have children is right about 23, right about the sexual market value peak years that I've pegged in all of my books. And why? Well, because first of all, you're at the peak of your game. You're at the top of your game. You have your choice, sexual selection. You have you'll never be as powerful sexual agency wise as when you are 22, 23 years old. I joke about this all the time, and I'm going to tell the joke one more time. There's a reason, ladies, why they call it 21 Forever. The shop, the store, the fashion store, right? They call it 21 Forever because 21 is the age at which you're going to be wanting to get back to for the rest of your life. So when you're 30, they don't call it 31 Forever. They don't call it 41 Forever. They call it 21 Forever. So, the cosmetic industry is not this multi-bazillion-dollar juggernaut because women want to look older. They want to look younger because that is your prime fertility window. That's when you will be at your most valuable sexual market value. And that's just the way things are. I'm sorry. It doesn't have anything to do with your personal worth. It doesn't have you could be a great person. You could be 41 and you could be 91 and be a great person and have lived a fantastic. You could be Mother Teresa, but it won't make you any more attractive. It won't increase your sexual market value because men are not looking for that. They're looking for like two very specific things. You got to be hot and you got to be available. Those are the two things. And you will never be as hot or as available or be as in control of your life. You're powerful at 22, 23 years old, assuming you maintain your figure, you're outgoing, you have a good femininity to you, all the great, what is it? The list of 6 aspects that get Rich, Cooper, and everyone else in trouble when they tweet them out. And again, I'm not saying this because he's just a misogynist. He's just a show. I'm telling you the truth. Okay. When you get to be about 22, 25, this is exactly what I tell my wife. I tell my daughter, I said, when you get to be 23, that's it. That's the top of your game. So the one thing that women lack at that point is they lack an understanding. They lack because they're spoiled for choice in this society, and globalizing westernized society that is gynocentric, where every part of popular culture is on your side as a woman. When you live in that, why would you? Like, I get it. I understand why women don't make those decisions. And they're like, well, I'm going to put it off. I'm going to have my cake and eat it too, and with chocolate sprinkles on it. Like I've heard women say that, exactly those words. And then when they get to be, 30, 33, this is where guys get off on this. Like, oh, she's 33. And she said, where are all the nice guys at? And I say, well, they're back in your 20s where you left them. Well, why? Because you didn't have the foresight. You didn't have the insight to understand your own game. Like when I talk to guys who are like betas in waiting, I'm threatening to women's mating strategy because I'm informing these guys and I'm telling these guys, this is the game you're involved in. How you choose to use that is up to you. But I'm going to tell you, from this God's eye view or this third party view, like here's what's going on. I can tell them that and women get upset. But if I tell women like at 23, you need to start thinking about things in the long term. That's exactly what I told my daughter. My daughter's very, very red pill, as you might guess, because I said, look, these are the years. This is your prime right now. And women will say, well, I'm going to be 30, or we sell women on this bullshit idea about the sexual peak for women. We tell men, like, I'm sure you've heard this. I've heard this since like the late 70s. And it's something that sort of got carried over, I think, into the manosphere back in, like, I remember reading articles on the Spearhead. I don't know if anybody remembers that old aggregate blog site about the myth of sexual peak. And that's another essay I wrote that's in the description if you want to. I always put, by the way, relevant articles, at least 4 in every one of these videos. So if you want some follow-up, or if you want to like get some sort of context as to what I'm talking about, go read those. It especially if this is like your thing, or if this is what you're interested in, or this benefits you the most, go read those, because it's required reading, right? It's the textbook. So go, if you want to understand that, go and check those out. But the one that I'm talking about was the myth of sexual peak. And what we've been telling women for a long time is that men's sexual peak is 18. Like that's when their testosterone is the highest, and that's when men are full of hormones, and they're at their like, for lack of a better term, their peak of fuckability. Let's just say that they're at the peak of their desirability. That's what they say, right? That's what we've been hearing this for a long time. But then what we do is we sell women on this fantasy that women's sexual peak is like right around like 38 or 39. Which is nonsense. If there even is a sexual peak for women, it's going to be right around 22, 23 years old, because that's when you are going to have the most opportunity in the sexual marketplace. But we sell women on the idea that their sexual peak is like in their 30s, because again, it's another one of these pre-established, pre-installed social conventions to make women feel better about their decaying sexual market value. So you get women who get into these, they do the eat, pray, love thing, and they get into these situations where they're divorcing, or they detonated the family because they've been incentivized, divorce porn, whatever. They've been incentivized to get out, right? They follow that fantasy, another fantasy that triggers the endorphin squirt, right? And so we teach women that, hey, you know what, girl, you've never been more comfortable in your own skin. You know what you like. You know what you need. You're 36, 38 years old, and you're at your sexual market, or you're at your sexual peak. And we teach them that because it makes them feel good about the fact that they are already probably 10 years past, well, maybe not 10, let's just say 15 years past what their sexual market value or their sexual market peak really is, which is right around their fertility window. So when I talk about like the myth of the biological clock, it is a social convention. When somebody tells you, like, ladies, if you're listening to this, and guys, if you want to be red pill aware here, the reason why we tell women that their biological clock is right around 30 to 33 is because that is the area, that is the time in a woman's life where she has to, like, shit or get off the pot. She has to find that guy. And most women don't want to find that guy because they need more time. They want more time. And that's exactly where labor of love goes. They sell this fantasy that women, you have all the time in the world. You can be 41 and you can have, a dozen guys who will be fighting to impregnate you. That is the fantasy. That is the idea. Like, do you guys remember when Demi Moore and Ashton Kutcher were getting together, and Demi was in her mid 40s, and Ashton was like, I think he was mid to late 20s. I'm not really sure, but there was almost a 15-year difference between the two of them, and they got married, and Demi's she's a freak in bed or whatever. I don't know, but women saw that and they go, oh, but look, here's an example. Here's Ashton Kutcher and Demi Moore, right? They're together. They're, that it could work for me, right? And they cling to that. And why? Why is it that? Why is that something that women really want? That why is it that eat, pray, love, and divorce porn? Let me explain divorce porn. Divorce porn is it's this fantasy. It's this fiction. It's a very popular fiction that a woman who is in this boring kind of, dead end life, she's a housewife, or she's married to the beta that she, had to marry back when she was in her own epiphany phase, that now before, usually right around 38 or 39 years old, she's got to do it. You got to do it for you. You're the most important person. You're the most important thing in the world. You're God, right? You're the most important thing in the world, honey. And you need to get out, and you don't need to worry about it because he doesn't love you anyways, and he's boring. And if you divorce this guy, then you can run off to Jamaica and get your groove back, right? Like how Stella got her groove back. I think that was one of those movies. And then there's Eat, Pray, Love is the easiest example of divorce porn, which is divorce your husband now quickly and get done with it. Detonate your family, whether you have kids or you don't, get out, and then you could become a cougar. And that's another social convention, is this idea that women, when they get to be 38, 39, 40 years old, that they can go back in time and have sex with guys who are in college, right? Or have sex with young 20-year-olds. And it's really sort of this reverse, and they're all, of course, justified and validated in doing that because they all believe in the apex fallacy with respect to men. That when men get to a certain age and they get to a certain level of success, that they're going to divorce you anyways, girl, and they're going to go get a trophy bride. And that trophy bride is usually this blonde, titsy, hi, big tits, that sort of archetype. That's what women. So because of that social convention, that fallacy, by the way, apex fallacy is what it's called. They believe that if they see one guy who, look, a good example, maybe this is a bad example, but when Jeff Bezos ditched Mackenzie Bezos and made her at least I think the second or third richest woman on planet Earth, who did he get with? He didn't turn into Dan Blitzerian. He got with Dirty Sanchez, right? He got with Lauren Sanchez, and people were like, "Why? What are you doing?" That wasn't following the script, because the guy's completely beta and blue pill with respect to women. And so it threw everybody off because they were expecting him to get a trophy bride, because that's the stereotype. That's how it's supposed to work. And that's if Jeff Bezos had got with a hot little blonde secretary or something like that, women would be like, I can't believe it. He deserves to get, raked over the coals for $35 billion or $33 billion. And so we have these fallacies, or we have these social conventions that play on other social conventions. So if a woman wants to follow the eat, pray, love thing, she wants to. The reason why it's attractive is because she thinks that she has the options that she doesn't. She thinks that, oh, we live in a great new age. I can do what I want to. I make my money. most women, the richest women, like where they did the survey, the 60 richest women in the world made most of their money off of either inheritance or a divorce settlement. They're not self-made. It was either daddy's money or it was their ex-husband's money, pretty much, or money in the family, those kind of things. They might be controlling the money and spending the money and directing where it goes because they're the prime consumers, but they are the ones. They didn't. It's not like they're self-made millionairesses. So that's when you look at the truth versus the fantasy in the story, and that's what the Bachelor and Labor of Love really entail. Is they appeal to that indignation, they appeal to that need for women to find honest cues. And so as a result of that, we get social conventions that make women feel better. For instance, and last example here, when what was it? I think it was back in 2017 or 2018, they started like Facebook and Google and some of these other more of these. I got any more of this? Give me 1 second. Big companies started offering women from middle management on up, offering them as part of their benefits package to freeze their eggs. Because now we have cryogenic freezing. And I was looking at, when I was doing this, when I was doing the research for egg freezing for book 4, and there's a part of it in, but I was trying, by the way, book 4 will probably be the best sources cited book in the manosphere. Because everybody throws rocks at Rollo Tomassi. He doesn't cite any sources, man. Wait, you got it. You want it? You got it. Here it is. And one of the reasons why I was digging into egg freezing is because not only are companies like big name companies, not only are they including egg freezing for women in their benefits package, but now a husband can be sued for the money spent to freeze an ex-wife's eggs. So it's actually those eggs that a woman freezes for whatever reason are an asset. And they can be claimed as an asset, I think, in divorce settlements. And now I didn't there's no need to include that in book 4, but I thought that was a really interesting aside, because now when we talk about how sperm is cheap and eggs are expensive, they literally are expensive. They literally are an asset that a woman can claim in a divorce settlement now, and claim like what is it? Punitive damage? I don't know, punitive damages, whatever it is. I'm not a lawyer, but they literally are a commodity to women in a gynocentric social order. Eggs are a commodity, and that's why you see like this. But again, the reason why freezing eggs is a thing is because we've sold women on this idea that they can hold off. They can live the lifestyle of a man. So what happens here in Labor of Love, and I'm gonna read some of this stuff here too. I need to move on to the actual thing here. I wanted to also describe to you what the myth of the biological clock is, because most women believe that they have more time than they actually do, including this girl right here who we're going to talk about. So when I wrote Myth of the Biological Clock, it was based on another article where they had done these polls, or they had like interviewed these women about like, what do you think is, what do you think the statistics are? What do you think the percentages of women who are your age of carrying, conceiving and carrying a healthy child to term? None of them had any idea. And women will get pissed that no one told them that. And it's like, they're getting pissed, but the reason why nobody tells them that is because they can make more money off of the fantasy. They can make more money off the fiction. They can make more money off of Eat, Pray, Love. They can make more money off of freezing eggs that you might be able to freeze when you're 25, but you probably won't be able to carry to term when you're 45. They don't tell you that, but they say, oh, we've got this great. You focus on your career. We're all about female empowerment. I keep talking about the Fempowerment narrative. Egg freezing is a prime example of how, like, we build policy on it. We build legal policy on it. We build business, like it's a benefit, hey girl, come over here. You focus on your career. You can have a family later. Don't worry about it. And and we build shows on it too. We build The Bachelor. We build Labor of Love, 90-Day Finance, or finance. It might as well be finance, right? A fiance. So anyways, let me get to my screen share here, which is Where did I put that? It's a Chrome tab, right? Yeah. Here we go. Can you guys see that all right? Yes, you can. Okay, good. All right. It says, so this is the thing. I'm just going to whip. This was the shortest, most short and sweet description I could find. So this is the thing. 15 men will compete to impregnate a 41-year-old woman in a new reality series called Labor of Love. Reality television has always been a bit of a mixed bag, and you never really know what you're going to get when you start a new show, except for these guys know exactly what they're aiming to get out of this show. This might be an extra true in the case of Labor of Love, a new series on Fox that has a pretty peculiar goal. 15 men will compete to claim the prize, the ultimate prize of completing a woman's hypergamy. That's the ultimate prize, right? Impregnating a 41-year-old Christy Katzman. I'll show you a picture of her. Well, you guys have probably seen. She's actually if you saw the thumbnail of this video, that's the chick. If you're a little confused, don't worry. You're not alone. Sex and the City, Kristen Davis hosts the show. And she explains that the winning man and Christy will skip the dating and go straight to the baby making because this works out really well in the real world, right? All right. Well, it does if that woman is in 100% unilateral control over the reproductive process, whether that's hormonal birth control or abortion, like I was saying before. Again, I always have to give you the prefaces here so you understand what I'm talking about. As a journalist, Stuart Heritage sums it up quite nicely. Labor of Love is a dating show where the prize is a real-life flesh and blood baby. The entire show, a human life that's going to look back on this show and go, that's how I was born. That's how mom and dad got together. I'm the result of a social convention and an archetype and an archetypal female and male who got together to produce me back in 2020. The entire show exists to help one woman choose a candidate to impregnate her. It's a mating show, not a dating show. Love, as we're told, is optional, which let me guess. The script already includes this. I guarantee you that love will happen. Love will conquer all. She'll fall in love with this guy and she'll want to have this guy's baby because she develops feelings for this guy, right? Because that's part of the script. That's part of the narrative. That's part of the fantasy of optimizing hypergamy for a woman who's 41 years old. What is she like? She doesn't want to be a spinster. She's not Kate Bollock. Do you guys even remember who Kate Bollock is? She's probably in her 50s now. But back in 2012, she was writing stuff like a book called Spinster. And she was a very popular author at the time because she was just like Christy Katzman, sexless, childless, never married, had a guy she wanted to get with, but dumped him back because she thought she had more time and made a career at it. Go look up Kate Bollock, B-O-L-L, Bollock. B-O-L-L-O-C-K, I think is what it is, Kate Bollock. I've written about her. I wrote about her in 2012. So love is optional, but yeah, I guarantee you love will be on the list. It'll be on the menu. Oops, wait a minute. Let me bring that back. There we go. Did I lose you guys? No, I didn't. Okay, good. Labor of Love actually begins tonight, May 21st. So it's already over. I did not watch this yet. I probably will. Just to say that I did, but I'm not really all that interested in it because I pretty much have the script right here. Labor of Love actually begins tonight, blah, blah, blah. Much has been made of the show in days preceding the initial episode. Do you think that was made about it on not DLive, on Discord servers and Facebook? And you think it was made big because it just naturally happened? And does very well for herself. The premise is definitely a unique one. Here's what we know. Christy is recently divorced. There you go. And follows the divorce porn fantasy and does very well for herself professionally. However, she's never had kids and obviously she wants to at 41. I'm sure she does. Here's the question. Why is she divorced? And why does she not have any kids? At 41 years old. You have to ask these questions now. I know people say it's impolite to ask those questions. No, it's not. And boy, look at this nice. Do you think this picture right here of Christy was run through that filter that like removes like wrinkles and everything? Like what human face I don't even think a newborn baby has that few that few wrinkles on her face. Like, you guys know that there's a filter. I think it's an Instagram filter or something like that where women can pass it through and it will basically smooth out everything. I will guarantee you she does not look like that in the morning, gentlemen. 15 men described by Variety as including a couple people who appear engaged with her and the process, and several more who are vaguely want to be on TV, get free drinks, and see where the camera time takes them. Yeah, it takes them wherever the screenwriters want it to be taken. Let's see. So there's 15 dudes. Okay, they are all living in a home together and will take turns courting Christy in hopes of landing the ultimate prize, a baby. Remember, the ultimate prize. That's the ultimate prize for women. It might not necessarily be the ultimate prize for these guys. Obviously, they wouldn't be there if they didn't think that they were going to have a baby. Now, that's the thing that's getting me about this is it's one thing to write the script and say, okay, you guys are going to have a baby with this girl. Somebody in this room, one of you 15 dudes is going to have a baby with this person. I would assume that this is only going to be a 1-season run, and they're going to be done with it, because at the end of it, she's going to have to get pregnant by one of these guys. And I'm not going to laugh, but I will be mildly amused if she is unable to conceive and she is unable to carry the baby to term. As tragic as that sounds, that's statistically, that's pretty likely for a 41-year-old woman. She will probably miscarry. And I don't wish that on anyone, but that's the risk you take when you take these social conventions and you turn them into entertainment. And that's not all. The show also loops in the parents of each of the men, who make their own attempts at selling both Christy and the audience on their sons. So let's enlist all of the, most likely the beta cuckolded fathers of these guys, who are also lining up and signing up for this kind of stuff, which, again, probably they're paid. Let's just be honest. Variety's Daniel D. Adario notes that appearances by the competitors' own parents explain how good these men would be at fatherhood are more notable for their simple curiosity factor than for any sort of real imparting of information. So they're just there to at least lend some sort of legitimacy to this whole thing. Christy recently sat down for an interview with Fox, explaining that she was interested in the show because she felt like her biological clock was ticking. No, Christy, your biological clock ran out right about 26, 27, somewhere. Why did she not have children with the guy that she's divorced from? She's 41 years old and her biological clock is ticking. This kind of goes one of these days I'm going to do a full episode on the wall and how women hit the wall. So when you look at this chick, this 40, I don't know, it's a chick, this 41-year-old woman, very produced. Yeah, she's in shape. Don't get me wrong. She, for a 41-year-old woman, she doesn't look bad, but she is very much processed, let's say. So let's see. Fox explained it because she felt like the biological clock was ticking at 41. What does that say to women who are like, say, 34 and have had a miscarriage? What does that say to women who are like 38 years old and they're considering following the eat, pray, love narrative? What does that say about that? What message does that impart to them? Oh, look, you could have 15 guys. Oh man, I wish I would have got on that show. I just turned 40 at the time and I had gotten out of a relationship. No, you were divorced, dear. I was trying to navigate dating, knowing that I still wanted to start a family, and that time at 40, I still want to start a family. And that time was definitely not on my side. It wasn't on your side at 31. I think it's really incredible. It's a really incredible story that a lot of women will be able to relate to. Of course it is, because this is, again, triggering the endorphin squirt. There's hope. There's hope for you that 15 guys could get with you and want to have a baby, want to father a child with you. She also shared that she was really worried that there wouldn't be men out there who would be into the show's premise. One of my biggest fears was going in wondering if there were actually men out there who are ready for this. And I think we really tested them off the bat by putting them through the whole sperm analysis pretty much moments after I met them. Now, I've said this before, and I'll say it again, is to women today in Western cultures, men fall into two categories. They fall into breeding stock, and they fall into draft animals. That's pretty much what is confirmed. Well, in this last sentence here, for sure, but it's confirmed by shows like this, the popularity of shows like this. They don't care who the guys are. They want to bring the families on to sort of just make them human, because women say, well, love is an option, right? I thought love was just an option in all this. So really what she's saying is these men we just brought on guys who are breeding stock to the point where we analyze their sperm. So every one of these 15 guys had to jerk off into a cup so they could analyze a sperm, so they could have the privilege of being on the show for the ultimate prize, right? And if anyone out there is thinking it sounds amazing to date 15-minute once, she's not dating. She's going to be breeding with them, remember? It's not about the love. It's about the insemination, well, ostensibly. Christy says, you should think, again, also, it might sound like a total dream to date 15 incredible men, incredible, at once, but it's actually super overwhelming. I think it really requires you to stand in your own presence and really know what you want. Yeah, the baby, the ultimate prize, right? But even though it was a lot of work, she still prioritized really developing relationships with each of the men. Who cares? Love is the option, not the actual goal. Right? She says that sending them home was the hardest part. I think one of the things so I assume that this has already been shot and they already know who the father is, right? Or who's going to be the baby daddy, right? Maybe they fell in love, right? Because it's true love. Maybe she found the one of those 15 guys. The soulmate is in there somewhere. I think one of the things that's special in this show is every time I sent a guy home, I had a real conversation with him. You're going home. There's this whole ghosting culture happening with dating right now, and I think it's because people don't want to have these conversations because they're hard. Well, how do you not have those conversations when you're on a show that is in front of worldwide, global, right? How? That's kind of pretentious and stupid. Christy has also been sharing bits and pieces about the show on her Instagram page. I would say it's probably more than bits and pieces. It's probably a lot. It is probably a completely stage managed Instagram account as well. She recently wrote this week a powerful journey that I know. Journey. Remember, there it is. The journey of self-discovery once again. We've got a woman who probably went through her epiphany phase, and now she's going through her party years, or what she would like to think is her party. This is like sort of a repeat of her party years again, looking for the right guy. Well, I got out of a relationship with the guy I was married to, but now I'm, what is it? This it makes a powerful journey that I know so many of you will relate to. Begins, it will make you laugh. It will make you cry. It will give you all of those good feels that you want when you're trying to determine whether a guy is real or he's not. It will trigger all of the emotions and all the indignation and all of the endorphin squirts that trying to figure out who is the hypergamous optimal guy in your real life would be like if you had a real life. So right up until the end, what are you willing to put on the line to make your biggest dreams come true? How vulnerable can you be? There's the vulnerability narrative inserted into this all. Can you stay true to yourself? Right? Because that's what it's about. It's not about the baby. It's not about a future life. It's not about even the guy, because love is an option, right? It's how do you stay true to yourself in the middle of a storm that somebody scripted and created. Do you know how strong you really are? Are you open to a new and totally different story? Can you be comfortable being uncomfortable in front of the world? Oh, squirt, squirt, squirt. Sorry, getting a little crazy myself. She added, do you have an open mind? Maybe you should ask. You know, it's funny. We should ask when the kid gets old, like if assuming they actually have a real child, should we ask that child when that child hits 18, do you have an open mind? You should read all of these questions, right? To the kid. Imagine reading these questions to the child produced by this nonsense. You know, I won't go back over that. Can you trust yourself no matter what? What will it take you to become your own hero? So you're a hero at the end of the scripted show. Okay, anyway, so that's the whole premise of all of this. Let me back out of here real quickly and put myself back in. There we go. So that's the first part. I just wanted to throw out a few of the other things that I have right here for you as well. Okay, so these are the dudes. These are all the guys. And of course, she's there in a red dress. And if you know anything about ovulatory shift, you understand why she's in the red dress. Because when women are in estrus, or when they are in the approximation of estrus, let's just say, they tend to wear what's called sexual ornamentation. And one of those things, one of the most common things that women wear when they are looking to be impregnated or to signal that they are fertile, that they're in estrus, is a red dress. Hoop earrings is also another thing too, just throwing that out there. These are the guys, none of them look like terribly ugly. I don't know. Maybe this dude back here is a little, where'd it go? Maybe this guy, and the guy right behind her, I guess on her immediate left right there looks a little, he'll probably be the first to go. Now what's happening, of course, is like MGTOWs are looking at this going, oh yeah, it's going to be that dude right down there in the pink shirt, right? Or the guys, like the guys on the front three are probably going to be the ones who, and maybe the black dude, maybe one of those black guys will probably be like in the final running. I think, I don't know. Again, I don't know what's going to happen in all of this. I don't really care, but these are the guys that they chose, the 15 guys who are the special guys who have like super sperm, I guess, to impregnate the woman in the red dress. If you read my last essay on the rational male, not the most recent one, but the one before, I wrote an essay called The Secret of the Red Dress. And it was about how Steve Jobs wanted, was it Joan Baez, when he was dating Joan Baez, or he's first getting together with her, how he wanted her to get a red dress, that he had seen it like Ralph Lauren or something like that. It was actually part of, I picked up on it before because I have read the actual biography of Steve Jobs, and he's actually a fascinating kind of guy. But I read that one part and I wrote an essay about that. But there's something a little bit more significant and symbolic, I think, than in a red dress. There's a reason why there's a woman in a red dress in the Matrix. Hot girl in a red dress is signifying, or it is cueing sexual availability. There are certain cues that women will do, like such as her hair and everything else, and the way she's done up. That's I don't know. I don't want to make too much of that because people will go, "You're reading too much into this, Rollo." And then let me grab the last one here, just so you guys can see what I was talking about. This is the girl. You probably already saw this, but I'm going to put it up there anyways. So this is our labor of love girl. And if this is in any way reminds you of that old movie, 3 Men and a Baby, that was actually, well, if you go and you look at there's I think it was an 80s movie, or maybe it was the early 90s. It was 3 Men and a Baby. It was like Ted Danson, and I forget who else was in that movie, but it was a woman who had a baby, and it could have been like one of 3 fathers, and all the 3 fathers got together and they go, you know what, we're going to do, and we don't know who the kid is, but we're going to find, I guess maybe later on they find out, but they're all going to be all 3 of them are going to be the dad of this one little girl. And again, it's that fantasy of having the alpha guy impregnate them, and having, in this case, multiple guys who are, rich, established, have status, and sort of satisfy the beta need side of hypergamy. So what's interesting to me here is, I think that if you were to see this, it's interesting that she's not notice that she's in the red dress when she's around all 15 of the guys. When they put her for these press shots like this, she's in the blue dress. Because I think on some level of consciousness, women pick up on stuff like that. Obviously, like I've said before, like women are very sensitive to to subcommunications. So when you see something like this, oh, she's in a blue dress. Oh, cute. Look, she must be wanting to be a mother. But yet when she has the red dress on, she wants to get down, right? That's what that means. The next time you're in a group of women and like maybe you're so out socially, you're in a club, maybe you're just hanging out like socially with other people, and a woman walks in and she's wearing red. It doesn't even have to be a red dress. It could be a red shirt or something, or if it's a red dress, whatever. A woman walks in, listen to what other women say about that woman, and make some mental notes. Make some mental notes about that. So obviously this is staged. Okay. This is a presser shot. This is a PR shot, I guess. So keep this in mind, because now it's like all these guys saying, oh, well, we'll give you a baby. We'll give you a baby. I think what's funny about all this is guys have asked me in the past whether or not I think that if men had a reliable form of male birth control, and not including, a condom, obviously that's as reliable as you make it. But like hormonal birth control, if we offered men the same level of control over the human reproductive process that we just take for granted today, for 50 some odd years, women have been in control more or less, and certainly in Western cultures have been in control of the reproductive process. If we gave that to men, what would happen? What would be the fallout of saying, okay, guys, guess what? You have the equivalent of a vasectomy right now, and you can turn it on and turn it off whenever you want to, and it's 100% guaranteed. What would that do? What would change as a result of that? Would women suddenly say, "Oh, wow, we better be nicer, or we better find some way to because I really want a baby," and only men can now say, as long as they're on this, theoretical drug, they can turn it on and turn it off. So what would that force women to do? Now, people are going to say, well, what about Vagisil? And okay, I know that there are other forms of birth control for guys, or there's supposedly ones that are supposed to come out, but most of them have side effects such as like erectile dysfunction and lowered testosterone. And I talked about this on Rich Cooper's show a few times. And it would be nice if you could find a form of birth control that that didn't have those side effects. So until that happens, I don't really see any like significant changes happening socially. But let's just for sake of argument here, what would happen as a result of that? Well, would it force women? And I think this is what most guys think. It would force women to be nicer. It would force them to actually have to to develop themselves, right? To be something it's what I call value added, right? It's that's the salesman in me, right? It's the value added thing. Most women don't have value added today. They're value added. Like for the most part, men see women, and women do that, and women commodify themselves, but men see women as sort of, a sexual object. And when we do that naturally, I don't have any problem with men sexually objectifying women, because that's what we do. And when people say, well, you or like women will say, we're not sexual objects, you dehumanize us. Yeah, because men evolved to see women as an instrument to solve their reproductive problem. And so when a man sees a half-naked woman, it triggers the part of his brain that is associated with tool use, because he has a problem. His problem is, I need to reproduce. Is she acceptable? That's why when guys, like women, lose their minds when I have had these conversations in the past, like on some forums, where I say, what, men, within like half a second of seeing a woman, the guy assesses if she is reproductively viable. Is she somebody that I would have sex with, and is she not? And I think most women are surprised that most guys are probably okay with having sex. When we talk about like what's an HB10 or what's an HB5, like a 10 or an I or an 8 or whatever, when we look at those things, I think it sort of varies like culturally and ethnically and also age-wise, like how would we rate women? But by and large, most men are looking for women who are about 23 years old. And so guys as young as 15 and guys as old as 90 think that women who are 23 years old are the most attractive. So if there's a demographic, that's true. But if you go and you look at like things like porn, you will see that there are niches of porn where there's a blonde, there's a brunette, there's fat girls, there's skinny girls, there's spinners, there's short girls, there's tall girls, there's girls with purple hair, right? I mean, ladies, if you think that you can't compete with other women, or you can't compete with those porn stars, I can't do all that. If you think that is locking you out of the sexual marketplace, you are very much mistaken, because men don't have an attraction floor. We don't have or even really an arousal floor so much. Men will go chubby chasing, right? Men will go slump busting, right? Whale hunting. I'll let you decide what that means. But men will do that, right? Men have fetishes for stuff like men have fetishes for like damn near everything. Because usually those fetishes are whatever was reproductively productive for that guy in the past. So if you go, I'm too fat for God, trust me, there's a guy out there that wants to get with you. And so because of that, guys will say, well, because of the fact that guys don't have attraction floors, they still want to solve those reproductive problems. They still see women as objects. It doesn't matter whether or not that guy can turn on or turn off his own fertility, because beta guys wanting to solve their reproductive problem will be glad to turn it off if it means that they're going to get laid. Well, I want to have sex with you, but I got to make sure that you actually have super sperm and you can impregnate me. So what you need to turn off your fertility for me, Mr. Beta. And guys, sure, no problem. I'm like, here's 15 guys ready to do that, man. Here, 15 guys ready and signed up. To be now, granted, I will guarantee you each one of these guys was selected by a casting agency. Guarantee you. They didn't just like say, oh, hey guys, respond to this personal ad in the newspaper. No, that's not how this happened. These guys look the way they do, and they will act and talk and do all the things that they do because they were hand selected to be the guys that are on here, because they fit the type that women want to see. They fit the type of the guy who's going, like, if you go and you look at, like, say, now maybe Donovan Sharp can talk about this a little better than I can, because I know he does all these shows on, like, 90 Day Fiance and the Bachelor and Bachelorette or whatever. But the guys that are on there are specifically selected to generate indignation. They're specifically selected, and they're saying what they are, whether they're like ad-libbing or they're improvising, whatever they're doing, they're selected because they know that they will cause conflict. Because it would be a damn boring show if it was like, here's the guy. Okay, all you guys go away. We found him. Here he is. And the end. No, there has to be conflict. I mean, in any story, right? There has to be conflict. We got to resolve the conflict. What was it? I don't know if it's this last one or maybe like a couple of bachelorettes ago. Like, women were like losing their minds because, like, the guy that the girl blew off, like, he had said something about, like, well, you're supposed to be a Christian and you've had sex with these guys already, and called her to the carpet. And then she got really indignant, and she stormed out, or she was for whatever reason, like, well, in any of these things, for whatever reason, there's always the guy that every woman says, oh, she should get with him or she shouldn't get with him. There's always going to be that conflict. Like I said, team Jennifer Aniston and team Angelina Jolie, right? And we can smash each other. We can fight about it, but they don't care, because as the description says, you're going to laugh, you're going to cry. It's your journey of self-discovery. You're going to feel all of these things. Guess what, ladies? You get to feel all this stuff. Well, why? Because it's playing to the idea that they can, have it all. That they can freeze their eggs. That doesn't matter that a woman is 41 years old. 15 guys will want to impregnate you. Doesn't matter that the guy that you were with, that you divorced, the husband that you were with, of course, they don't say anything about that. I just got to have a relationship. No, you got to have a marriage. It's not like you blew off your boyfriend to get and do this. She was married before this, and, childless and divorced. And that's the fantasy. That is the divorce porn fantasy. In real life, this doesn't happen. But women love this, and they'll eat this up. And I would argue that this will probably be a very popular show. I don't know that they'll be able to sustain it Like they won't be able to go, oh, this is a labor of love part 2, because once they get out, I mean, they're creating life. I mean, that's the premise of it. If they don't, then no, it's bullshit, because they're not actually having babies. Oh, they broke up. What's nothing we could do about it? Well, hey, here's season 2. There ain't gonna be no season 2. So they gotta ride this horse till it dies. So anyways, I just wanted to I thought this was a good opportunity to sort of explain how the biological clock, or the myth of the biological clock, works in terms of fantasy. It works in terms of profitability as well. So this is a very popular, profitable format. So like I think probably the Bachelor or Bachelorette, it is popular because primarily it's women that are watching it. And again, all of those lists of emotions what is it? Let me look at that again. That was a really good list of emotions. Here's the things that you'll feel. Let's see. What did it say? Incredible. It's incredible. How vulnerable can you be? Like this is straight. This is a powerful journey that I know so many of you will relate to. Begins. It will make you laugh. It will make you cry. It will keep you guessing right up until the very end. I will guarantee you, some PR girl agent wrote every single word of this, because it's all feels before reals. The real is we're going to create a baby. We're going to create a human life who's going to look back on this and probably read this very article and go, this is what these sons of bitches were thinking when I was born. Haha, it's all good. Don't worry. If that kid turns out to be like a serial killer or something, who knows? But I mean, I would not be surprised if that's the case. And the other thing, again, is like, they're not like the moralistic side of this whole thing is it will be very easy for me to just sit here and moralize. And I'm sure a lot of the more tradcon women, red pill, quote unquote, red pill women, or who probably will eat this up, we'll see it from a moralistic perspective. Well, they should be married. They need to have a full family, and it's debasing. And yeah, you're right. It is. It's debasing family. It's debasing marriage. Like the fact is that the point of it, the literal stated point of it is not necessarily about love. It's certainly not about marriage. I can remember, and I'll leave you guys with this, and then I'm going to catch up a little bit here, I promise. But I've said this, and I put this in book 4 as well, because there's a very large section in book 4 about marriage. And it begins with a quote from Dalrock. And Dalrock said, "We have transitioned away from a marriage-based model of child rearing, of raising children, to a child support-based model of child rearing. And such. So a family is no longer necessary to raise a child, to have a child, raise a child, whatever. In fact, so much so that we can now make entertaining shows on Fox, of all places. Remember, conservative Fox. Now, and this is a very good example of this, is that there's not even, they don't even talk about love. Love is just an option, maybe. Oh, I hope so. I really hope so. We're gonna rule it out for now, but if it happens, it happens. Like, come on. I guarantee you at the end of this, she'll make the decision because she's emotionally invested in one of these dudes. It will be just like the Bachelorette. And that's what it is. And so I have to throw in that aspect. There's the moralistic side of things. I know people think I ignore that, but I'm not moralizing, but I'm going to say that this whole thing is representative of the changes that have happened since the sexual revolution. It's now not a family raises a child, it's the village. A village. It takes a village to raise a child. We heard Hillary Clinton says it all the time. And here we now have a TV show that is not only, it's not raising a child, but is conceiving the child. And now we're going to have a baby as a result of this. Wow. Imagine she says, okay, I got pregnant by this guy and I decided to abort the child at the end of it. Like she should have that option, right? I mean, that's what we say. Well, ladies, you should have a choice. You have your own reproductive choice. Do whatever you want. So she gets knocked up by one of these 15 guys, and then she has an abortion. Kicker. Here's the plot twist. She got an abortion because of it, because she turns out he wasn't the right guy. But and you know what's funny is if she did that, nobody would have a problem with it. Maybe the moralistic women would have a problem with it, but people would just say, well, it's her choice. She does what she wants to. She's an empowered woman. So there's that aspect. The other, the final thing I wanted to address in all of this is the fantasy of having 15 guys, because this is sort of, it is a reversal of what I guess is sort of like the ultimate male fantasy, because for men, the primary biological imperative, if there's a feminine imperative, the male imperative is unlimited access to unlimited sexuality. Now, here's the thing, is you've got women who, and this is also true, I guess, for the Bachelorette, is you've got a bevy, a roster of guys competing to, when, marry or impregnate this woman. And that is, what it's a fantasy for women, but look at the difference here. If you flip the genders in all this, you have one guy and he has access to 15 girls. To knock them up, just sleep with every one of them. That's all you have to do. That's all you got to do. But that kind of show would never fly, because we live in a gynocentric social order. So what would happen is the premise of a show like that wouldn't be about like a guy just knocking up 15 women and having 15 children. It would be about finding the one, because it always has to be cast in a female correct narrative. So it can't be him knocking it out with 15 women. It can only be one of those 15, the one he finds true love. It's the romantic ideal, right? It's courtly love. I'm going to find out which one of these is the true woman. So what happens is the guy actually becomes the woman in that case. He's the one who gets, you want to know why The Bachelor is still a popular show? It's because the guy assumes the role of the woman. Meaning, I have to find out which one of these girls really loves me for me, right? It's that idealism. It's the idealism that we've like pounded. It's a romantic idealism that we've pounded into men's head, that the correct way to find romance is to do it like a woman would do it. Because from left up to men's own device, it would just simply be like porn. Right? It would just 15. I want 30. And if they get pregnant, they get pregnant. Great. If I'm off the hook, who cares? That would be the man. You want the real Bachelor? That's the real Bachelor. Is unlimited access to unlimited sexuality with 0% responsibility for any of the kids that are potentially produced as a result of that. That would be the male way of doing things. But for women. For a woman, we have to find the real love. We have to find who gets the rose. Oh, I get the rose. Who gets booted off the island. It's not that the man follows the female mating strategy, the female paradigm. That's why those are still. It's probably not as popular as like The Bachelorette, because The Bachelorette is a female fantasy, but it's a young woman's fantasy. So when you've got like, I don't know, what is it, 12 guys, 10 guys that are competing for her attentions because because true love happens in the course of 8 episodes, 10 episodes. I don't know what it is per season, but within that time, within 8 weeks, 10 weeks, we should know whether he's the one because it's got to be one of these dudes. That out of the millions in our solar system, there's got to be one of these guys. Of these 10 has got to be the soulmate. That right there should tell you that soulmate myth is bullshit. It's a fantasy that we sell, both men and women, and I think it damages men more than it does women. But the fantasy, of course, is, or the reason why those shows, and including this one, are popular is because it is women trying to figure out genuine signs, like, is this guy really who he says he is? Is this true love? That's good. If you go back and you look at my episode on chivalry, which I wish was, I really liked that show because it sort of allowed me to sort of explain what the romantic ideal is and how we got to where we're at. It features very prominently in the first part of book 4, but the romantic ideal is exactly what this show and what The Bachelorette and probably 90 Day Fiance and all that other crap. It's all based on that same thing. It's like Taco Bell, man. It's all the same food. It's just mixed up differently. It's the same formula. It's just, this is different. Now there's a baby involved, right? Well, we don't know if they're going to get married. Well, it doesn't matter, right? Because it's all about child support, and it's not about, I guarantee you the guy that knocks her up will be on the hook for child support. He will have to be. And if they say, oh, he's not going to be on the hook, well, which I doubt, because that would be probably be part of the whole narrative. Like, oh, don't worry, baby, I'll take care of you. Because that's part of the fantasy. The guy not only has to look hot and gorgeous and have, really like he'd rock her world in bed. And of course, what's going to happen now is you put 15 guys into the same house and they're competing to impregnate this one girl. What's going to happen? They're going to fight like girls because, again, it's written from a female perspective, or like a female primary goal is really what it's about. Finding out who's the true one. Well, he's less true than I am. No, you're the less true than I am. And it's just going to be this back and forth like catty women, but it's going to take those men and cast them into the female role. So anyways, there you go. That's the myth of the biological clock. And of course, labor of love. If you, do you care? Probably not. Do you care? Or you watch this show? Probably not. But it does serve as an illustration of a lot of red pill principles, and it serves as an education for you. So my last thought here is, take this as a tool. Take this as something that you can use in your own real life, where I get a lot of guys. I generally get guys who, when they're looking at, like, say, a 41, in this case, it's a 41-year-old woman, I can talk to guys who are about, let's see, they're in their mid 50s, right? Maybe, I'm early 50s. So let's just say mid 50s, maybe even mid 40s to mid 50s. And they're the divorce guy. I would love to get in touch with the guy who divorced this chick, right? Or they got divorced. Probably she divorced him, right? Likely that she divorced him. 70% likely that she divorced him. I'd love to talk to him because he's probably one of these guys who is either awakened while married, or he's one of these guys, hopefully, he's woke up from his blue pill stupor. But I talk to guys like this and they're like, oh, Rollo, I don't know how to get back into the sexual marketplace. What am I going to do? They would love to meet a childless 41-year-old woman that looks like this. They would love that. I've got at least 2 guys that are on my counseling roster right now who are in this right now. One of them's pretty much set. He's done, but I got other guys that are like, they say, well, Rollo, I'm doomed. I go on Twitter or I go on Tinder and I can't find any woman who looks good. All the women my age, like they're just trying to date women their age. I'm like, go younger, dumbass. But I'm trying to date, I try and find women who are age appropriate. I'm 50 and I'd love to find a 41-year-old woman who is childless, because all of these women have baggage. They've all been married. They've got kids. They've got, their kids are 10 years old, or maybe they're 20 years old or whatever. I don't know what, but they're all, all these women are damaged. Right. And this woman, Katzman, whatever her name is, she represents probably the ideal for these guys. That's what they're looking for. Oh, she looks, she's not overweight. She looks okay, for 41 years old. She looks cool. All right, go for it. Rock her world. I would wonder how many of these guys of the 15 are actually older than her or are younger than her. They don't mention like the fact that all these dudes are like in their late 20s to mid 30s and she's 41. Or are they older? Because from the look of it, most of these guys look a lot younger than she is. I don't know. Maybe I'm calling that wrong, but they look a lot younger. But most guys who are divorced at 50, which is common, that's usually when it happens, mid 40s, mid 50s. That's when you get. That's when women decide to detonate the marriage and the family and go eat, pray, love. Usually, right about the time. They call it there's the 7-year itch and there's the 20-year itch, and the 20-year itch is usually when women are right before like 39, and they're like sketchy. And they're like, oh man, I got to either decide whether I'm going to stay with this guy, or I gotta go eat, pray, love, and get my groove back. And so guys get into that situation. And I think that's really tough on guys, because nowadays first of all, if you're married, you're powerless. And I'll be the first one to agree with that. You're as a guy, you are effectively powerless in modern Western, government recognized marriage right now. It is an all downside prospect. And for the guys who say, well, what about raising children? Again, as Dalrock said, we have moved away from a marriage-based way of raising children to a child support based way. So ultimately, you say, well, at least I had kids. I want to get married for kids. Well, they're not yours. And they never will be your quote unquote yours. Unless your wife is like a criminal and a drug addict. You're probably going to be sharing custody with that woman. At the best case scenario, you'll probably be sharing custody, and she'll probably get primary custody of the kids. So the child thing is now less and less of a motivator, I think, for most guys. But when they get out, they would probably love, like most guys, they want to get back in. How do I get back into the dating circle, Rollo? How do I a pandemic pickup, right? How do I create a Tinder profile that women will love? Well, women will be, particularly the women who are in the demographic that most of these guys want to see, which is 40, 41. They'll be happy to go out with you, but they all look like hell, and they all have, let's say, not all, the vast majority of them are overweight. Just statistically in American society, they're going to be overweight. What is it? The average woman in the United States is 5'7", 5'8", and she weighs 164 pounds or 184 pounds. I can't remember, but I just saw statistics on this of the average woman, because they wanted to say, well, this is what an average woman looks like, and we should love them, and we should be attracted to them because they're the average. No, we shouldn't. And we're not looking for average. We're looking for someone who looks good. We're looking for somebody who seems like a good reproductive choice, even whether or not that's just about sex or whatever. I don't know. But like most of the guys want to get with a girl that looks exactly like this girl who's 41 years old, but they're not going to be the guy that gets with them. They'll be the younger guy. It'll be the guy who is, I will guarantee you that the guy that she gets with, and this is my prediction, it's only a week in right now, this is my prediction, she will get with the guy who represents the best of both of the hypergamous equation. And I would argue that it will probably be the most outgoing guy. It will probably be the most socially dominant, because you got a house full of guys. And what happens is you will see dominance hierarchies establish themselves in this. And it's really contrived, and I know it's scripted. Yes. Thank you very much. But even in that case, like even scripting it, like the women who are probably writing this, or maybe the guys, I don't know, whoever's writing this, they understand, like, this is what would happen. What would happen if we got 15 guys in the same house and they're all striving to impregnate one woman? They know. You can guess at that. You can probably figure that out. And I think probably at the end, because remember, the show is not written for the woman involved. It's not even written for the man involved. It's written for the women who are watching it. What are you going to feel? Remember, that was the goal. That was what the PR pitch was. You'll laugh, you'll cry, you'll kiss $10 goodbye. So anyways, those are my thoughts on all of this. I will continue here with YOLO. He says, is hypergamy an instinctual, emotional, or reasonable response? All of the above, YOLO. And is the hoe phase an epiphany phase for women an internal process or a social construct? It is an internal process that is facilitated by social constructs. So like when I say, well, I never had a hoe phase, I always, yeah, I got it. But like, here's the thing is, like, when women get to a certain, like, let's just say like a woman gets married, like, you want to know why most marriages, like when a couple gets married at like 19 years old, are like high school sweethearts, right? The reason why it's incredible that those two stuck together is particularly in this day and age, is because women have more options. And if they don't, they have more, I don't say temptations, but they have more, they can live vicariously through others more easily. And that's part of that's a social construct. So the epiphany phase, the hoe phase, all of that stuff, it still happens. It just happens in different contexts. So guys, I've had people ask me this before. They will say, well, I've got a woman, I got married at 19, and, when she got to be 33, then she divorced me after we had I got one of my best friends went through exactly that. He got married at 19, 20 years old, had 3 kids. And then by the time she was about 32, 33, that's when all the trouble happened. Again, it's sort of like that 7-year itch. Like I said before, is when when a couple gets to that's why they have made the movie. There's a movie called The 7-Year Itch, right? It's like when it's supposed to be when guys go, do I want to divorce her and get somebody younger? That's the popularized idea. The reason why they call it the 7-year itch, and there's also the 20-year itch, is because those are the times where a couple, it could be a man, but more likely today it's the woman, because women are, if a man is in a marriage, the woman has more incentive to leave the marriage, and she has more incentive to be like pandered to with the divorce porn narrative. If she is not like completely on board with the guy that she's with, that's when there's sort of that, I don't want to say temptation, but there's that doubt that's initiated at usually around 7. And then if she says, okay, well, I'm going to stick it out. I want to, I want my kids to grow. I want to see my kids go to college, blah, blah, blah. Usually right around 20 years is the next time that happens, because the kids, now they're facing becoming empty nesters. And if that happens, if that coincides right around like 38, 39 years old, before a woman hits 40, I think there's something like here. One other aspect of this I needed to talk about is like when a woman gets to be about like 38, 39 years old, the reason why she has that kind of like, there's sort of a second epiphany phase right there, because usually it's like, okay, I got with this guy, it's been 10 years or 12 years or however long it's been. And I think at some point in women's brains right around that time is like, if I hit 40, then I'm out of the game completely. Assuming that they are like, there's even hope for them to get back in the game. And most of them don't, because thanks to social media, thanks to the Fempowerment narrative, you go girl, you can do anything. Shows like this, there is a strong incentive, let's say, for women to at least have that doubt. I'm not saying that they all do it, okay, but there's that doubt, like, oh, should I or should I not? I'm still hot enough to get with guys. My friend Peggy is a cougar now, and she's 40, and she's getting with guys who are like 25 years old, and she just tells me about all the great sex that they have. And oh boy, 50 Shades of Grey was fantastic. How I would love to, man. I don't know. Maybe should I? So you have that doubt that goes along, that's attached to that. That's another thing I think is kind of dangerous about this show here, is the woman is 41 years old. She's already divorced. Okay. So that's already happened. But I think that a lot of women, when it comes to the wall, and I need to do a full show on this, but when it comes to the wall, I've said this before, women, when it comes to the wall, the wall happens here for women. It doesn't happen down here so much. Women are happy to lie to themselves about what their like prospects are. I mean, unless they're really grossly overweight, but they're happy to lie to themselves about their prospects in the sexual marketplace. That's why you get things like body positivity and you're beautiful at any size. Although that's a social convention. It's a social convention that convinces women that their SMV is higher than it should be, because women don't have confidence. We need to teach them confidence. Well, confidence is one thing, reality is another. So when you see someone who's 41 years old and she's got 15 guys, well, women want to live vicariously through that one. That's another reason why it's going to be very, very popular. Oh, how great would it be to have these hot guys? I could be a cougar too. That's what she is, right? I think. I want to see how old these guys are. Some of them look like they might be in their mid-30s. I don't know. But again, even if they were mid-30s, peak SMV age for men. Peak SMV. People say, oh, no, they need to be 20. No. They have a business. They have something going. Why would they bring the parents in? Tell them how great they are. Oh, he comes from a great family. What difference does that make? What difference does it make if he's got a great family? All I care about is the seed. All I care about is that's the premise of the show. If love happens, it's okay. Right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so YOLO. You only get one YOLO. Let me see what else is on here. All right, I'm going to back up. Thanks, Sam. You are a lifesaver today. Okay, so I got to YOLO. Randy Bills says, oh, good. Okay, I think I know where I'm at now. Randy Bills says, I'd love to hear you and Alan Roger Curry together. Well, that wouldn't be too hard because I have been on his show at least twice. So I love Alan. Alan, I actually got Alan on the 21 convention for both the 2017 and 2018 shows or talks or whatever. I have a really good relationship with him. We talked about it before, and there's stuff that I disagree with, and he disagrees with me. I think it's really sort of a matter of priority. He's very much about direct game. That's what we would call it. Mode 1 is essentially like, in pickup artist terms, it's direct game. And can it work? Yeah, it does. It also has some inherent dangers to it, particularly now in this day and age. And remember, Mode 1, I think he wrote Mode 1, like the first book, I think he wrote that like early. I think that came out in like 2012 or something, didn't it? I'm not sure how old that book is by now. But one of the, I don't know. I like Alan. Okay, I'm not going to say I don't. I know he's getting married. If he's not married already, I'm not sure. How is that going to change his game? I don't know. How's that going to change his business? I don't know. We'll see. I do like Alan though. Tiger the Brave says Sperm Wars was a book would make a good show. Yeah, but I'm kind of talk about Sperm Wars on a lot of these shows, particularly when we talk about like biomechanical stuff. Really, that's what today is sort of biomechanics day. There is a set stages of maturity that women go through that is just an evolved reality for women and for men too, right? But we're talking about women here. And that's why I wrote, was it a positive preventive medicine is the timeline in that book. So what can guys expect? Well, a good portion of that comes from, biological realities. Why would a woman, like from an evolutionary perspective or biological perspective, why would a woman feel like, or why would it be a social convention for women at 30 years old to say, my biological clock is ticking? Because it's convenient. You got to check out of the sexual marketplace because the party years are over. I was so crazy. Now I had my fun. There's no fun left for you. Let's start a family and have no fun. Who is thinking like, but that makes perfect sense. Makes perfect sense for women. Like they don't see. I'm really tempted. I might do this on Wednesday now. I'm really tempted to do a full show on cognitive dissonance. The problem is if I go and I do that, it's like too highbrow, right? It's like I can't say, oh, look, here's the labor of love. If I go and I say women and cognitive dissonance, how many people do you think will respond to that instead of like labor of love? Again, it's like trying to appeal to like I want to give you guys what you need to hear, not what you want to hear, what you need to hear. Like I said, a lot of guys can sell you the sizzle, but they don't have any steak. They don't have any substance. And I would really like to give you substance. The problem is I can't sell substance. I can only sell sizzle. So I want to give you guys a full understanding of like, why is it that women have no problem with cognitive dissonance when it comes to, sorting out their sexual priorities, or I should say their reproductive priorities, because whatever works, right? It is in their evolutionary best interests to be able to do that. War brides. Maybe I'll do war brides. War brides is another one. War brides is definitely cognitive dissonance. My husband has been killed. My children have been killed, and I've been taken captive by a conquering tribe. And the guy who has taken me as his spoils of war wants to have babies with me. Well, I guess I'm in love with him now. That's cognitive dissonance. Unless the guy she was with was like so alpha that she was ready to die because of that, because she can't live without the guy. And circumstances just killed the guy, died, or the children died. That's in the Bible, man. Like in the Old Testament, God told the tribes of Israel to go into these other tribes, wipe out the entire tribe, every man, every child, every woman that had known a man, kill them all. Great album. Kill them all, but take the women, take the fertile, take the virgins, assuming they're virgins. Take the women who didn't know the men, have never known a man, because there's spoils of war. We got to increase the tribe. We got to increase in numbers. Makes sense. Evolutionarily, that makes sense. You want to know why like human beings are innately tribalistic? That's why. Well, I didn't say it was pretty. Didn't say it was right either. Although maybe it is. It's in the Bible. That's what they were supposed to do, and that's exactly what they did. Why? Yeah, makes sense. Evolutionarily, it makes sense. Stephen Vieting. Again, if you want to see Comeuppance, buy WWE Network and watch Bobby Heenan marches. You know, I'm glad you brought up the WWE, the World Wrestling. What's E stand for? I forget. World Wrestling, WWF is World Wrestling Federation, but like professional wrestling, because technically this show, Labor of Love, is WWE for women. Just like what is it? The Bachelorette, 90 Day or 90, what is it? 90 Day Fiance. That's WWF, WWE. That's professional wrestling for women. All of that is professional wrestling. But the difference is that I think most guys, I mean, I can appreciate I can laugh at a good wrestling match, right? But guys know, okay, this is kind of nonsense. Like these guys are acting, but it's great. I love Robert Frank, by the way. Robert Frank's great. If you haven't watched Robert Frank, I know he's not a professional wrestler, but he's got a great channel. But you know the difference. I'm not sure women really realize what the difference is. And even if they do, they don't care. So, Memon Milan says, I once dated a single mom that told me she was a nurse in love, or I can't remember, in love with her ex, even though they had a daughter and lived together 6 years. She's 31. Wow. So she's 31 and they've lived together for 6 years. Is that what it is? Okay, great. Good for you. Is there a point in a man? Oh, this is Lucky Bastard. He says, is there a point in a man's life where spinning plates is not possible? Yeah, but I'm not saying that there's a set point. If you read my, let me finish the rest of this. It says also, what are the most common mistakes men make that keep them from reaching their potential? I'll tell you the number one mistake that men make is they remain in their ignorance. The longer you remain sort of red pill ignorant, you remain in the blue pill and blue pill idealism, and mixing blue pill idealism, just male idealism in general, but mixing that with the blue pill and blue pill conditioning, mixing that up with religion. And I'm not shitting on anybody's religion. I'm just saying when you mix it up with that stuff, that is a really powerful deterrent from you reaching your potential. Because what will happen is you will think that it is your responsibility and your duty to do what the romantic ideal would have you do, because that is the system that is in place for most guys. Why is it that we shame, like if there's a man who's 41 years old and he has no kids, and he's like this girl right here, and we say, well, why do we not have the same equivalent for men that we do for women when it comes to freezing eggs? Because when a man gets to be like 30 years old, or he gets to be like 35 and he doesn't have a family, or God forbid he gets to 41 years old and he has no family and he's divorced or whatever, or maybe he's just simply never married, we shame that guy. We say, oh, he's a Peter Pan boy, he's a kidult, right? We shame that guy. But if a woman does the same thing, she's focusing on her career. She wants to be a powerful woman. She's in charge of a company. She wants to be. We got to freeze your eggs, honey, because you can start a family later, because you got to focus right now if you're going to be a powerful, strong, independent woman. Trademark. We do that, but we don't do it for men, because we want men to follow along with a female correct way of thinking. That's another thing that limits guys from their full potential. Making decisions based on what women and what the blue pill and what a gynocentric social order tells you is the right thing to do. That is probably the number one most limiting thing for men reaching their own personal potential. And finally, the mental point of origin. And that goes hand in hand with all of that stuff that I just said. The reason why you don't have mental point of origin is because you've been trained not to. And yes, so you get to be 36 years old and you go, what does it all mean? Or I've done everything. Like, you want to know why guys go through midlife crisis? Because they've done whatever anybody has ever told them to do. Well, who's that? That's the gynocentric social order that says if you don't have these things set up, you're not a real man. You don't have manhood. You don't know what masculinity is unless you do what I tell you to do, right? I hold it over your head. Like, here's the manhood medal. Do what I tell you. A real man would, it doesn't matter if like that cognitive dissonance for women again. A real man doesn't care if his wife cheats on him. He steps up and sticks it out and works it out with her. A real man doesn't care about paternity. Here it is, the real man card. Here's the real man medal. Do what I tell you. You do that long enough, you miss your potential. Renegade Show, $5 says, they just turned the opening credits on Idiocracy and turned it into a TV show. Yeah, kind of. Idiocracy was a great movie. Funny movie, a prophetic movie. In a new, Iron Legend 1 says, in new book, do you talk about young surrogate moms? This goes in line with the freezing eggs because women can compensate for declining fertility. Thoughts? Not specifically. The only time I really talk about surrogate mothers is when guys ask me about like wanting to be single fathers themselves. And that's the only time I really dig into that. I know that there are women who are like sort of professional mothers, so they get inseminated with a fertilized egg, and it's like a fertility thing. But the problem is that stuff is like so rare that it's, I understand why women would want to do that, but no, I don't talk about it in book 4. Name of the Christy Chicks essay. I don't know. Lazy people, Rollo, do you do one-on-one phone consultations? I do, but don't expect me to. I mean, I might get back to you like this month, but I am so far, and I'm glad you asked that, because I wanted to tell everybody I am doing counseling still. I will. If you got a quick hit thing on email or something, I'll be happy to just, if I have the time, I will answer it. I really, it's funny, the more I've been doing this on YouTube, I have so many people asking me for consultations. I have to sort of rearrange how I'm going to do that. But right now, I'm so focused on book 4 that I can't do it justice. I can't really sit there for an hour or 2 hours, because you guys know me, man. Here we are. It's like 2:10 right now. I'll go on and I'll tell you this stuff because this isn't easy stuff. That's a problem with the red pill, is it's not, there's no elevator pitch. There's no, like, people say, well, Rollo, you just talk and talk and talk and talk. Yeah, because if I don't, it's like, I'm not thorough. And you go, well, he didn't think about this. Yeah, no, I did think about that. I just didn't tell you because I'm trying to keep it under fucking 3 hours. That's why. Rollo, I just saw this on Twitter. Some guy was saying something like, there's this aspect of life or women or whatever, and there's just this gaping hole, or what is it? It's like MGTOW talking about marriage or talking about like how women are or whatever. And it's like, this, that's the thing. Red pill has this gaping hole when it comes to, long-term relationships or something. Like, Jesus Christ, man, do I have to hold your hand on everything? Because I've written about that back in 2012, 2013, 2014, whatever, right? No, there's not a gaping hole. It's just that you're too intellectually lethargic to go and do a simple search query on the rational male. I've talked about that for ages. Well, it looks like these guys didn't get it. No, you just are lazy. That's all. I'm not gonna call you dumb. You're not dumb because you figured it out, but you're just lazy, thinking that nobody's ever talked about this. Nobody's ever covered those things. I have. Trust me, I've been at this for almost 20 years. 20 years. I'm 52. Okay. I've been doing this for a long time. So anyways, that's not a flex. I'm just saying, go and look, it's been done. I've talked about this stuff. What was it? You guys are going to laugh. I'm going to sort of sell John up the river, John from Modern Life Dating. He just got a new dog. I won't say what kind or anything like that, but he was talking about it and I was talking to him and I go, and I linked him an essay that I have called That Damn Dog. And it's like, you have written everything. I go, yes, I have, even about dog. You think I haven't talked about it? I have talked about it. If you think there's a gaping hole in the red pill theory, just type in whatever you think is a gaping hole into the search engine at the Rational Male, and I guarantee you it will come up. Pretty much guarantee. So yes, I do one-on-one, but lazy people, if that's your real name, that's your real name. Hit me up an email. It's the contact and everything is in my description. Harry Butthole, squirt, squirt, squirt. Yep. Okay, there you go. Today is the squirt, squirt, squirt episode. The endorphin squirts, or whatever it is. Captain Crunch 420 says, a bigger question is she really worth 18 to 21? I couldn't catch the whole thing right there. Is she really worth the 18 to 21-year-old? I'm going to presume that you meant the guys in this. I'm not really sure. Probably not. Like that's you want to know why this is like sort of outrage bait right now. The Labor of Love show is because she's 41 years old. She's well past the wall, and women love it. It's that Demi Moore, Ashton Kutcher, thrill. Oh, look, she's doing it. She's an example. We can all follow her example. No, you really can't. Unless you've got script writers writing your life for you. Harry Butthole again. God damn it. Every time, man. Rollo, can you do a duo video with AMS, Alpha Male Strategies? I'm sure we would love to see both Godfathers. I don't even know who the guy is, to be honest with you. So I don't know. Tell him to hit me up. Chris B in Philly gave me $10. Thanks, brother. Juan Sebastian said this. I have no idea who Lombardo. Oh, Lombardo. Okay. Now I know what you're talking about. Dave Lombardo from Slayer versus Mike Portnoy. Oh man, you're gonna kill. I'm glad you brought this up. I have an essay about. No, I don't. Actually, I don't have an essay about this. So there is actually something. Who's better? Who's a better drummer? Dave Lombardo from. I'm sure it's Dave Lombardo from Slayer or Mike Portnoy. You think that Lombardo is better than Portnoy? They're both really, really good. I'll just leave it at that. No, you know what? I'm not Slayer. I'm always Slayer. I'm sorry. I got to go with Slayer. John Alba says, what changes do you foresee if a female president is elected? Also, do you think female leaders can put aside solipsism, cognitive dissonance? Thank you. No, I don't. And I will never vote for a female leader of any sort, local or Senate or congressional or whatever. And I know people go, well, you sound like you're a sexist. Well, I am, because I think women of any political stripe will always put the sisterhood above the interests of men, and above the interests of the greater common good. So if you go and you look, and thanks for bringing that one up, but I should probably do this because I know that sooner or later I'm going to have to do a political show, because once the DNC decides who is going to be the running mate for geriatric Joe Biden, and I guarantee you it will be a woman. He's already said it will be a woman. Once that happens, I'm probably going to have to address this in a show, and I probably will. I have an essay, John Alba, called "The First Female President," and in it, I break down the sort of the greater narrative, I think, in the contest between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, and it's more about the Gestalt feminine versus the Gestalt masculine. Like, what I mean by that is, like, everything that is feminist, everything that is about the feminine imperative, everything that is about the feminine power structure, Fempowerment narrative, all that stuff is summed up in one person, and that was Hillary Clinton in 2016. And it seemed like no one could possibly run against Hillary Clinton, because it was her turn, right? I'm with her. That hashtag, by the way, just came up again. Maybe that's why you're asking me this. I'm with her. Even when Earth Day rolls around and they have these big protests or these big marches or whatever, it's I'm with her, and then point to the planet, right? So the planet is female, Mother Earth, right? That's part of the Gestalt female. And so she was everyone presumed she was going to win. I did. I sure as hell didn't think Donald Trump was going to win. I will tell you right now, I had no confidence that Donald Trump would ever be the president, or I'd even be having this conversation. And so did a lot of companies, and so did a lot of TV shows even, what was it? House of Cards. House of Cards changed their plot 6 months prior to the election, because they thought when the next season of House of Cards came out that we would have a female president. And so they sort of jiggered things around in the plot of that show, which was very popular, and now it's gone, to have the first lady become the president, because they thought, well, this is great. It'll be timely. Haha, we'll be ahead of the game. Nope. They spent a lot of money doing it too, I'm sure. And now they didn't have it. It was gone. Well, why? Well, because who could possibly run against the living effigy of the feminine imperative? Have to be somebody who's the masculine imperative, right? He'd have to be the character or the living embodiment of everything that feminists hate and that the feminine imperative is against. It would have to be the most toxically masculine, most chauvinist, most sexist, most rapiest, most harassiest male individual to walk planet Earth. And who would that be? Who could possibly represent the Gestalt masculine that the Gestalt feminine hates so much? Only Donald Trump. And guess who took it away from her? He said, it's my turn. It's her turn. Nope. They'll take that away from you. And that's why to this day, you want to know why we have a gender war? You want to know why we have such political division? It's a gender politics division primarily. And so it doesn't matter that Joe Biden is the choice for the DNC. He's not going to be the president. He's not going to be the president at all. Even if he miraculously beat Donald Trump, even if he could miraculously stand on the same stage as Donald Trump and have a debate with him for like more than an hour and a half, even if that could, I don't see that's not going to take place. That's simply not going to take place. They can't put him on the same stage as Donald Trump. So the real question is who's the running mate, which will be a female, and I don't know who that's going to be right now. I have my guesses, but I don't want to make any predictions because I'll probably be wrong. But again, the point is this: is if they can't get Hillary Clinton in, if they can't get a woman, if they can't get the Gestalt feminine in by reasonable playing the game correctly, they'll do what women always do. They'll change the game, and that's what they're doing. So changing the game. So there you go. Yeah, I will do a show about that. I promise you. People always ask me about stuff. I don't like to do politics because unless it crosses over in intersectional dynamics, and fortunately or unfortunately, that's just how it works these days. What did you say? Here's a good one. I caught up. Yay. Divining Rod says major growing pains with letting congruency naturally happen with constant red pill bombs dropping when back in the real world. I guess normal transition. Captain Crunch. Says 18 to 21 years of child support chat got cut off. Oh, sorry. Yeah. So a bigger question is she really worth the 18 to 21 years of child support the chat got? Okay. So here's that's the last one. Don't send me any more. Okay. Cause I got to kill the show here in about 5 minutes. I will answer this last one though. So getting back to this whole thing again, nobody is taking into consideration that a human life is being created in all of this. It's an entertainment thing. And honestly, I'm not really sure it's even going to happen. Who's going to knock this girl? They should just call the show Knocked Up. It's not labor of love. It's knocked up. That's really what it is. But so yeah, I mean, they're not seeing that. They're not looking at this in the long term, or maybe they are, but they're playing the odds on this. So there's a guy who says, I'm going to knock up the premise anyways, is I'm going to get this person impregnated. I would presume she's going to have sex with the guy that she chooses so that she can be impregnated. Is it that? Or is it, well, you have the best sperm and you made your case the best, so I'm going to be artificially inseminated by you? I don't think that's what's going to happen. Honestly, I think here's the script is she's going to fall in love, and it'll be like this Shakespearean kind of romantic comedy kind of thing. And guys will go at it and they'll be fighting each other, and they will assume the roles of catty females. But instead of the arguments that catty females would throw at each other, they will try to amog each other. Well, I would be a better choice for her because I come from a better family. Oh yeah, well, I care for kids. Oh, me too. It'll be like 3 minute a baby kind of thing. That's really what the premise of the whole thing is. But no, you're right. Nobody's really considering the 18 to 20 years of child support. But here's the thing: is it's not 18 to 21 years. I'll tell you how I know, because my daughter's 22 years. And I'm still helping her out, and I will continue to help her out, right? Because I'm her dad, and I will continue. You will always be your children's father, even if for better or worse, whether they're taken away from you or not, you will always be the father of your kids. You always want, at least if you're a normal dude and you're not like a pathological son of a bitch, you will always care about your own progeny, I think. Anyways, I think there's an innate drive in men to want to, we want our kids to have a better life than we did, right? Ooh, that's how it goes. We want our children, our sons, our daughters to be better off because of our influence in their lives. Usually, unless you're, like I said, a pathological alcoholic son of a bitch. There might be, or they're bad guys. Yeah, there are. But I think innately, like when guys are parentally invested in a child that they at least believe is their own, they want to see that kid succeed because that's them. That's a part of them. When I look at my daughter, I see me. I see my wife too, but I see me. Why wouldn't I want the best for my daughter? I don't care if she's 31 years old, 41 years old. I will help her out because I love her like more than anything. And so there you go. There's your heartfelt Rollo Tomassi moment. I love you more than anything, baby. Okay, so here's the deal. I should just name the show Here's the Deal because I say that too much. I catch myself saying things like over and over and so here's the thing. That's what I should call this show. So here's the thing. Anyways, I'm still deeply involved in book 4 right now. But I will say that the writing is done. It's the going back and editing it because this book, more than any other one, has to be bulletproof. It has to be well-sourced, like I said earlier, but it also has to be bulletproof. And yes, Sam Bada will be doing the read for it again. And then I got to get it to him too. So lots of stuff going on. It is Memorial Day weekend here. I'm actually working this weekend for the first time in a long time. So it's an event, but you don't need to know what it's about. It's here. So I will be on Wednesday. That's my next show. It will be, are you guys liking the 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern? Let me know in the comments if the time for this is all that good. If you made it this far in, thank you for watching the whole damn show. Hopefully you guys got something out of this. I did. It's funny. Sometimes I'll go into shows and I go, what am I going to say about that? And then like, I sort of like I think when you listen to me, you sort of hear my thought process when I'm writing. So hopefully I'm not too boring for you. I might have a guest on Wednesday. Not sure who. Monday, though, tomorrow, I will be on with Rich Cooper. We're going to have a discussion with a guy who's a 40-year-old virgin and religiously so. He's a voluntary celibate. And so we're going to talk about that. I've actually talked with the same guy, on the, not my religion in the red pill, but on Conk's religion in the red pill. And that will be tomorrow. 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern on Richard Cooper's Entrepreneurs and Cars channel. Go check that out. Also, if you have not subscribed to this channel, why not? If you have not told anybody about this channel or how much you've learned from this or like how awesome this is, I mean, we got up to about 1,100 live views today. That was great. Please spread the word, copy and paste the URL, put it wherever you are on social media, Twitter, Facebook, whatever blog you might have, spread the word, ask your friends. Like, here's the thing is I want you to spread, I would love to see the channel grow and whatever. I'm in this because I want guys to have conversations. And that's what I feel like I have with you guys here. And that's why I do live streams mostly. Like people will say, well, you need to do shorter stuff. Yeah, you're right. I do. But again, it is not something, I don't think the red pill is something that fits very well with short format. It can, and people can get it. But the problem is like we live in the TLDR generation. Too long didn't read. And people want the sound bite. They want to know what you're going to talk about. And you feed it here, throw it in your mouth as I drive through the drive-through at McDonald's, and I drive on. That's the kind of information that guys want. Okay, I get it. But the problem is then you don't have a full education. You don't understand how I came to the things that I did. Well, Rollo just makes all these assumptions. He doesn't really flesh it out. Oh, I flesh everything out. And you've been here for almost 2.5 hours of me fleshing everything out. So you can't say I wasn't thorough. I always struggle with being concise versus being thorough. So it would help me if you would spread the word. If you would have conversations about anything that I've talked about. I'm always open to answering questions about anything that I've talked about here, whether it's in the comments below, or you want to email me, or you want to hit me up on Twitter. I'm probably the most accessible red pilled guy in the manosphere. So don't feel like you can't answer questions or ask questions. I'm happy to answer. All right. Also, if you haven't supported the show, or if you want to support the show financially, please, all of the links down below. I save this for the end because I'm not a sales pitch, but I'm not going to turn it down. So if you want to support the show, if you want to give me a kickback or whatever, that's fine. All of the information for my Bitcoin, for PayPal, for my Patreon, join Patreon. It's only like the minimum's $5. And that's it. And you'll get like my, you'll get my announcements. That's probably about it right now. I wish I could do more, but once I'm done with book 4, I will eventually put like maybe a bonus, like not a bonus chapter, but I'll put a preview on Patreon. So if you haven't joined my Patreon, please do. That's a good way to support. But if you don't even want to make a financial thing, that's fine. Please give me a good review of The Rational Male on Amazon. You can see the link is below in the description as well. Or of any of my books. That's fine. There's 3 of them now. There's soon to be 4. So check that out. And I will see you guys on Wednesday at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. Thanks, guys. See you later.